No.
Okay.
No, I'm only joking, yeah.
Do you know, as soon as he said it and I heard it, it sounds exactly like the ones I have, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to post a wee video clip that Rory did, because it was Rory that came up with that one many moons ago. So I'm so happy.
Yeah.
So I'm wrecking my head.
How much did he win?
€730. And he didn't he lost his...
But the way he built up to it, like, if it was wrong, I don't think I'd have been fit to come in and do the programme, because he'd put so much...
You'd have hit me a slap, would you?
No, because he put so much...
I know.
He knew what it was.
He was
He knew what it was.
Yeah, he did.
All right.
He did. I'm so happy for Connor, so well done,
fantastic,
Connor.
and it obviously made his day, which makes our day, doesn't it?
Yeah,
That's
so
what
he
it's
said,
all
like,
about.
it's Friday, and I said, yeah, and it was great. So.
But it's Thursday.
I know, but it felt like Friday.
Okay, it's a long weekend for him.
Yeah, super. Yeah,
all right,
but a cash, great.
Good stuff. You get making a new one then.
I know. Any ideas from it? Go on, tell me something to do. Stapler or something? No?
Well, you've not done a stapler yet, and you never get those guesses, so...
Yeah, maybe.
All right, good luck.
Good luck.
All right, take care, Lee. Back with you tomorrow morning with a brand new Secret Sound. It's 9:01, time for a news update. Good morning, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Gardaí say they are extremely concerned for the welfare of a woman missing from Dublin who is known to frequent Donegal. 50-year-old Clodagh Murphy was last seen in the Fox Rocks area of Dublin 18 yesterday morning. Tom Douglas reports.
Clodagh Murphy is described as being approximately 5'8" in height, with a slim build, brown eyes and brown greyish hair, which is usually tied in a bun. When last seen, Clodagh was wearing a long pink dress and black shoes and had sunglasses on her head. She was driving a blue Audi A3 hatchback car with a registration 07D 46026. Gardaí say she's known to frequent the Dunfanaghy area. Anyone with information regarding Clodagh's whereabouts is asked to contact Dunleary Garda Station.
The Housing Minister has failed to agree to pre-legislative scrutiny of the defective concrete blocks bill. When asked in the Dáil by Donegal Deputy Pearse Doherty if there would be pre-legislative scrutiny, Minister Darragh O'Brien didn't offer a direct answer, but instead said they are proceeding with the scheme in consultation with homeowners. The MICA Action Group has launched a petition calling on all TDs and senators to show their support for calls for pre-legislative scrutiny to ensure the right scheme is delivered for homeowners. Minister O'Brien is standing by his commitment to bring the bill before the Dáil in the coming weeks.
We intend to get this legislation through the Dáil by the summer recess. You know how important it is that we do that, and I expect that as the main opposition party that you will support government in making sure that you support the legislation so that it's passed before the summer recess. We're proceeding with the scheme in consultation with the homeowners imminently.
Nearly 44,000 fewer women were screened for breast cancer last year than in 2019. Just over 127,000 were screened by Breast Check in 2021, compared to nearly 171,000 2 years earlier. Chair of Donegal Action for Cancer Care, Betty Holmes, believes in terms of the Donegal picture, efforts are being made by Breast Check to offset the delays caused by the pandemic. She says it's vital women attend their appointments to help address the backlog.
If you get invited to Breast Check, please do everything you can to make your appointment. If you can't make the appointment, contact Breast Check and reschedule it, because someone else would be able to use that appointment.
Weather now becoming overcast today with rain and drizzle developing. Highest temperatures of 13 or 14 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Just trying to bring down a government.
We're going to change the world.
Smashing it to Disney Plus. Pistol, a brand new original drama.
Our singer is fully insane. Our bass player starts fights for laughs. This is punk.
Come see us play. We're awful.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sex Pistols.
From director Danny Boyle, Pistol, available to stream exclusively on Disney Plus. 18 plus subscription required. T's and C's apply.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning. You're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show for this Thursday. It's the 2nd of June 2022. I hope you are feeling good today, and hopefully you're with us now for the next 3 hours. And it's a particularly busy show today. We could always say at the top of the hour it's busy, but this one is, we've a lot to get across, local, national and international. Hopefully later on have a bit of good news for you as well on another issue we've been talking about. More on that as the morning wears on. Stay with us though, you won't want to miss a thing. Let's look at the newspapers this morning. We'll start off with what's leading the Tyrconnell Tribune. Cool reaction to 30 million deal for post offices, while giving a guarded response to the 30 million euro lifeline for the post office network. Postmasters are anxiously waiting for the finer detail to emerge. The new deal will see the service getting 10 million euro each for the next 3 years. Tom O'Callaghan and the independent postmasters, who've been proactively involved in a new business model for the Irish Postal Network, said last night that in effect this is only a sticking plaster solution, because the current model has been broken for many years and there's little empathy for a new purpose and direction over these past 20 years. The Donegal Democrat reports on an inquest into the death of a popular Churchill man. It's heard how he died as a result of a blunt force trauma. Kieran Callahan was found dead at his home in remote Russian Churchill on July 7th, 2013. A murder probe was launched into the death of the 50-year-old who worked at Glenveigh National Park. No prosecutions have been initiated and a verdict of unlawful killing was delivered. At the inquest held at Letterkenny Courthouse yesterday, a deposition from Superintendent Gretty Sheridan told how she attended the scene and requested the assistance of the state pathologist as she believed Mr. Callahan died in suspicious circumstances. 200 lines of inquiries have been pursued as part of the murder investigation, and 150 statements have been taken. 143 people have been interviewed. On to the Donegal News. They have the same story on the front page, but inside, a well-known anti-vaccine extremist has demanded €1 million from a judge who adjourned his case. Antonio Muradu appeared before Letterkenny District Court yesterday on charges of no insurance, fraudulent use of a number plate and refusing to give his name and address. The allegations arise out of an incident at Mean Cara, Ballybofey in October 23 last year. The 45-year-old, who was accompanied by 16 supporters, had intended to fight the charges. And just reading some of his social media posts, I think his defence is under common law, and when or not you need insurance or license to drive a vehicle, and contracts with the state and the judiciary and so on and so forth. It's a complex area. The Irish Independent, they have an interview with Thomas de Leo Varadkar, and he says he wants to prioritise middle income families earning around 45 grand a year with budget measures including tax cuts and reduced childcare costs. In an exclusive interview with the Irish Independent, Mr. Varadkar said this cohort pay a fair whack of tax but do not qualify for many benefits from the state. With the spiralling cost of living becoming the main political issue, the Fine Gael leader, who is due to become Taoiseach later this year, outlined his budget priorities. He said while the government might do something extra targeted for those on low incomes, he insisted we shouldn't leave out middle income, middle class families. Mr. Varadkar also vowed that childcare and higher education costs will be cut when he takes the Taoiseach seat. What is classes in this country? Like, what is, if we have a middle class, and that's the terminology he used, middle class. Like, what is middle class? What is lower class? And what is higher class? I don't recognise or understand that terminology, to be honest with you. But if you define a group of people as middle class, then you must also define another group, mustn't you, as lower class? That doesn't rest easy with me. We are all the same. We all do the same things. We all come in the world and head out the world pretty much the same way as well. But anyway, good news if you are the squeezed middle. The Irish Times, just an update on this story we were covering for you last week. This is about the proposals for Gardaí to be given the powers to access CCTV video footage to fight crime. But of course the fear is, and we heard it from the group whose name escapes me just for a moment, the Civil Liberties Group, they had concerns that this could be exploited, that the use of this technology could go far beyond the parameters that would have been set. We were told it's about capturing murderers or to protect children, and of course instantly we want to say, right, we have to do that, right? But the fear is that if it's effective in that area, great, but it could be abused and used far more widely. And some people have concerns. Not that many listening to this programme, however. But anyway, facial recognition technology set to be used by An Garda Síochána will be able to identify and track people in real time using CCTV cameras. Minister for Justice Helen McAtee announced last week her department is drawing up legislation to allow Gardaí to use the technology to analyse CCTV footage for suspects in serious crimes or missing people. She said this would save thousands of man hours as Gardaí would no longer have to manually trawl through footage. However, sources confirmed there will be provision for Gardaí to use the technology in conjunction with live camera footage rather than just retrospectively. So already the scope of what's being proposed has widened. This would allow the force to track people in real time as they move about in public. Sources said this would only be used where there is a risk to national security or where there is an immediate threat to life, such as in child abduction cases. But as I say, those parameters can be used probably to cover a lot of things if that's what they want to do. The Irish Daily Mail, obviously still loads of national coverage as it relates to Dublin Airport. Are you heading out at the weekend? Are you lucky enough to be heading out Friday, Saturday, Sunday or Monday? It's a busy one for Dublin Airport. But I think a lot of people around here where they can use the regional airports or perhaps even head over to Belfast. I'm not quite sure how reliant we are for the most part on Dublin Airport. I could be completely wrong there. But anyway, passengers, if you're one of them, you're facing missed flights and queues in the rain this weekend. DEA Chief Executive Dalton Phillips is under increasing pressure after his appearance at the Oireachtas Transport Committee. It did little to dampen fears of a repeat of last weekend's chaos. And the thing listening to much of that yesterday is a lot of the questioning from these TDs, it's like gotchas. You know, they want to get him or they want to land a punch. And I think there was a lot of questions that should have been asked that weren't asked, to be honest. They may have been asked when I wasn't listening. Micheál Martin heavily criticised the DAA over their response to the crisis, telling a Fianna Fáil meeting they were changing their story in recent weeks. Now TDs are speculating that DAA management will have to consider their positions if they cannot get the situation in order for the June bank holiday weekend. But I believe Mr. Phillips is already leaving his post to take up a much higher paid post elsewhere. We'll go inside the Irish Farmers Journal. We might dig into this a little bit deeper later on. They have done a survey of Irish farmers revealing what way they would vote in a general election. Some 37% of farmers would vote for Fine Gael, 23% would vote for Fianna Fáil and 16% would vote for Sinn Féin in a general election, an Irish Farmers Journal survey has revealed. So this is a particular direction of voting for people within the farming community, and I'd love to know the reasons why to better understand, not to challenge it because everyone's entitled to their opinion, but whilst the national general polls of general society would have Sinn Féin ahead of Fianna Fáil combined, it's a very different situation when you ask farmers. So this would be good news, presumably, for the likes of Minister Charlie McConalogue, who represents the government to farmers. Almost 60% of tillage farmers would vote for Fine Gael, 14% for Fianna Fáil, 12% for independent candidates and 2% for Sinn Féin. 2% of tillage farmers would vote for Sinn Féin. This is in stark contrast to the voting preference of beef farmers, 32% of whom would vote for Fine Gael, 25% for Fianna Fáil and 18% for Sinn Féin. 20% of beef farmers would vote for independence. So if you can give us, as I say, we'll try and tease that out with hopefully get a journalist from the Irish Farmers Journal later, but maybe you can explain to us that the difference between voting within the farming community compared to sort of more generally. Where are we going to now? I've mixed all my papers up, obviously. ESB coal deal is blood-stained. ESB chiefs have been slammed for replacing Russian coal imports with coal from a notorious Colombian mine. So we're out of the frying pan and into the fire. In March, the energy giant announced that it would no longer be taking deliveries from Russia following Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. But the Department of Foreign Affairs has now confirmed that the ESB will return to importing coal from the infamous pardon my ignorance here on this pronunciation, Cerrejón mine in Colombia. The mining operation in Cerrejón has been criticised by campaigners for its role in displacing the indigenous Wayuu and Afro-Colombian communities and polluting air, soil and water in La Guajira region. So we are sort of saying, right, we're going to take a moral stance on not taking the car from Vlad, and we have to do something, I suppose, but instead we're going to take it from this operation, which has garnered much criticism. For more than 2 decades, the ESB purchased millions of tons of coal from this region, one of the largest open pit mines in the world, until it halted imports in 2018. But we are back onto that supply there. Let me just see if I can find this page. No, I've lost it. All right, okay. So we'll go on to this story here, which might resonate with you. Only 2 of 7 energy suppliers, only 2 out of 7 energy suppliers squeezed customers are fully receiving the €200 government credit. There's a word missing in the title here. In March, Environment Minister Eamon Ryan told the Dáil that they would be paid within a week. A series of hard-hitting increases on electricity and gas price households under more financial pressure, and the hikes applied last month in April. The last of those took effect on May 7th when Flowgas, which was the 7th major energy company to announce hikes, applied its new higher cost. It means that all households have now been hit with the hikes, but the energy companies are varying some bill payers that they could wait several more weeks before they get the €200 government credits there. Okay, so if you're waiting, that's why. Now, the big trial in the United States has come to a conclusion. The jury delivered their verdict sometime after 8 o'clock last night. This is the defamation case Johnny Depp took against Amber Heard. Amber Heard took a case against him. Both won. He won more so, though. She did win somewhat. But, stayed off Twitter last night. I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know what went in their house. I know the accusations were made. I know the impact it had. But the language being used against Amber Heard was shocking. You can disagree with her and you can have a debate about what this means in terms of, victims coming forward, or actually what damage it might do to victims of violence if you make false claims, which is what the jury determined them to be. But it's the tone of the language against a woman that just is absolutely shocking altogether. But anyway, actor Johnny Depp won his defamation case against his former wife Amber Heard last night and was awarded $15 million. A jury in the US found she had lied in a newspaper article claiming to be the victim of domestic abuse during their marriage. They concluded this guy never laid a finger on her. It awarded Depp $10 million in compensation, $5 million in punitive damages, though that $5 million, because of the local laws, is reduced well down. He said, "I am truly humbled." She said it was devastating. And in her statement, she says, she thought you had freedom of speech and that protected her, and she was very disappointed. But ironically, I think it is ironic, for someone who believed her case was championing freedom of speech, she switched off replies on the post on social media. So whilst in the post she was saying this was about freedom of speech, she didn't award the public the right to the freedom of speech on her post, though she could say that she knew she'd get a lot of abuse. But if you're going to suggest freedom of speech is important, then you don't restrict it yourself, do you? But anyway, 086 60 25 000. We'll be talking a bit more about that a little later on in the programme as well, and so much more besides. Stay right where you are.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
At AIB, we know how difficult finding the right home can be. The searching, bidding and time that lives behind every sale agreed sign. But when you finally do find the right home, AIB can make the mortgage part easier. With our online mortgage tool, you can manage your application online. Find out more at aib.ie. AIB, we back belief. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Allied Irish Banks plc is an authorised agent and servicer of AIB Mortgage Bank QC in relation to the origination and servicing of mortgage loans and mortgages. Allied Irish Banks plc and AIB Mortgage Bank QC are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
For all your health and beauty needs, you can always rely on McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. If you need a prescription, just call or order online at mcgees.ie and it will be ready for you in advance before you arrive. For beauty and skin care, there's all the big names at great prices in store and online. And for For your photo printing needs, simply download the McGee's Photo Prints app or click on the website link. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For all your health and beauty needs, and so much more. Call 91 or visit mcgees.ie.
Start playing NCBI Radio Bingo today. 3 chances a day, 5 days a week to win daily prizes of €400 plus. Not to mention a weekly jackpot of €5,000 upwards. Books available at your local retailer for just €5 each. It couldn't be simpler. Real money, real people.
Okay, we're joined on the programme now by Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for joining us. Right, okay.
Thank you for having me.
You've been speaking about your heartbreak, really, and it's over the treatment of your son. Can you give us the background to what's happening?
Yeah, surely. So basically, I put up a post on Tuesday, Greg, but I was just wondering for me to explain to your listeners if I could kind of take it back to the beginning of why I kind of brought it to a head on Tuesday, if that's okay, if I could take the time to do that, if that's okay, please.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah. So just to give the listeners a bit of a background about my Nathan and to understand. So Nathan is 15 years of age. He's in secondary school in 3rd year, and he's a very loving child. We actually picked the name Nathan because it means God's gift, and to us, Nathan is our wee gift. We only got one child, and sorry, I'm a wee bit nervous.
Just take your time.
As regards his autism, it was a late diagnosis. He only got it when he was 12 years of age, even though he was on the spectrum till get assessed since he was 5 years of age. He doesn't like noise or particularly crowds, but still in all, he gets on with this, obviously because he attends secondary school. He prefers routine, and he gets anxious times when he comes out of routine, but still he gets on with it. He gets frustrated at times too also when he can't explain himself. You know, he tries his best to explain, but he gets frustrated then when he can't get the words out. But apart from this, like, he can do every day-to-day chore, and like, he's a very loving child.
Yeah.
He's got a dog, which he adores, and we have him for the past 12 years. And he loves gaming, so he loves to play PlayStation. As I said, he is autistic, but we do try not to let this stand in the way. He attends rugby and martial arts, and he's a very great swimmer. We've taken him to numerous swimming camps, so he's a great wee swimmer. As mentioned, he had a late diagnosis when he was 12, and but even though it took to 12 years of age, we put him into a primary school. That was amazing. They went out of their way to provide the extra resources when really they didn't have to help him achieve his milestones. And again, at that, Nathan would find it very difficult, you know, confidence-wise, because he is extremely shy to make friends. But again, at that school, went out of their way to provide like a friend, like a layout that helped them become confident and be able to make friends. So we had a friend since primary school, and they continued, and they are still friends. However, during last year, they obviously couldn't see one another due to the pandemic. And obviously, it was this year now in September that they went back to school, and at that stage, his wee friend that he's still friends with has kind of got different friends.
And that happens, doesn't it? Particularly in the transition from national school to secondary school, people move amongst friends groups, and the people you think are going to be your friends for life, they move on and you move on. But it's a little bit more difficult for Nathan, is it, in terms of then making new friends?
It takes a lot, like as I say, it takes a lot for him with his autism to, you know, approach somebody.
Yeah.
Like, he is extremely shy. But if you talk to him, he will talk back.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's just...
He's not going to initiate it, maybe?
No. I just wouldn't have that confidence, Greg. But what happened then from September, was more Halloween time. As I say, his wee friend became friends with somebody else, but that friend then didn't like Nathan, and he more or less turned around and says for him to go away, that nobody likes you. So this went on for a couple of weeks without my knowledge. Like, anybody who has a teenager will know, they tell you nothing.
Yeah.
And like Nathan as a child, he doesn't like anybody fussing over him. Like, he would rather suffer. Like, I'll give an example. Like, he went to school one day over his lunch money, and not to be a bother to us, he wouldn't even text us to say, look, could you come up with my lunch money? Which of course we would do. But no, he would rather, you know, starve basically than to be a bother to anybody. But as regards then, at lunchtime then, he had nobody to hang around with. This was going on for a couple of weeks. And I didn't know anything about it. But then we happened to be away for a weekend, and he just kind of, when we were at the dinner table, he kind of blurted it out that, I actually don't have anybody at lunchtime. And in actual fact, the words that he used, this breaks my heart, is, I guess I'm not a likable person.
So he'd obviously been thinking about it quite a lot before he...
Yeah.
He didn't just come off the cuff with that.
For any parent to hear their child say, I'm not a likable person, it's heartbreaking. So, and of course I went on to the school, and Nathan has amazing SNA. So I explained to her, and wrote to her, and says to her, obviously through a message, what had been said. And we got on then to the school, and I got chatting to the senior coordinator, and I also got chatting to the liaison officer, who I've always been kind of dealing with anyway, because, they do try, you know what I mean? Obviously, give him, because he's an SNA, he needs extra support. And we kind of got it sorted then, that he kind of got 2 new friends in his classroom, and that was going grand. And then this was going on for a couple of months then again, and he seemed to be happy enough because he was even on the PlayStation then with these 2 new friends.
Yeah.
But then it started to turn sour. The boys then started kind of, taking a hand to them on the PlayStation, and again, he was knocked back down again because they didn't want him being with them, so that friendship ended.
And I think before we move on, Stephanie, too, I think maybe too with the other people, like these 2 young fellas or girls or whatever they were, they're young people too, and maybe don't fully understand the ins and outs of it. Do you know what I mean?
Massively. That to me is a problem here, Craig, is that nobody talks about the traits of autism and that what an autistic child is. Like, they do think different. There's no point saying anything different. They do think different. And I do know that Nathan, he does come out with things, but I know that he doesn't really mean the harm that other people would actually think that he means. It's just his way of wording it.
Yeah.
And I think if people could actually learn a wee bit more about autism, then we could understand them that bit better, instead of thinking that they're weird or,
Would it be worth then, in not just the school we're talking of here, but for all schools, that, and people do it in the workplace, call an assembly and have a half an hour talking about, how maybe a child with an autism diagnosis, how they might act, how they might be slightly different in inverted commas, and the allowances that had to be made if you did that in a group setting in front of the whole school. And it could be about it could be about anything that you could class us as being different on. Do you think something like that might help?
Oh, absolutely. I think something has to be said, and something, because from what I'm getting from that post on Tuesday, like, I'm not alone here. There is thousands of, or not hundreds of other people, even in this locality and flipping worldwide, that is going through the exact same, and they're all saying the exact same thing, that there's nothing there available, that they feel, again, like yourself, that they're alone, and that nobody really understands their children, or even really, wants to understand their children. But if, as I say, the criteria was there, that if people knew the traits of somebody that had autism, then they could understand that person that wee bit more.
I think this is one of the worst situations for a parent as well, and most people will understand this. If they fall over and hurt their knee, you can pick them up and you can make it better.
Absolutely.
But with something like this, all you want to do is to make it better for him. But you can't go in and say, hang around with Nathan, or you know what I mean? Like, so as a parent, it's even more heartbreaking because you're somewhat powerless, totally powerless, and it's heartbreaking.
Absolutely, but it actually got a lot worse than that, Greg. If I could just continue.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, because what happened then, because he had so many knockbacks, he then wouldn't come out at lunchtime. Then he found this room that you could go into, and he went into this room then, and he would sit alone at lunchtime. Again, I didn't know about this for a few weeks because, again, he wasn't telling me. And because Nathan is a child of comfort, so if he sees somewhere that's secure and feels safe, he will not then. It takes a lot for me or anybody to coax him to come out of it. But in actual fact, he got that safe and secure. Like, he was going on then, and he wasn't going to the canteen to get his lunch. So it was going on then that he was going to school all day, even though I was giving him money. But he was that scared to go to the canteen because he felt so alone and so alienated that he sat in a classroom and wouldn't go to the canteen to get lunch because he had that many knockbacks. But obviously, when I heard about this again, I got back onto the school. And at this stage, the senior coordinator and the liaison officer they were lost. They didn't know exactly how to deal with it. And fair play, now I admire honesty. So they did turn around and say, look, we don't know actually how to deal with this. So I says, right, that's grand. So I got on to NEPS. So NEPS is the National Educational Psychological Service. And we had been dealing with a lady through that anyways, because obviously we needed the NEPS to have Nathan's resources set up from primary school to secondary school. And there was a lady I met, and she always said, if I ever had any bother, to always get in contact with her. So for 3 years, I never had no bother. And I thought, right, this was getting way out of hand. I cannot have my child sitting in a room starving. So I got on to the lady, and I explained my situation. She then just turned around and says, look, you would need to go back to school again and kind of try and see if you can sort it out yourself. So we did, and we eventually got Nathan out of the class to the canteen, but still no, he would always go back to his class. So we thought, right, at least we got a meeting, but then again we thought, no, we need to get his confidence built back up again. So we needed definitely NEPS back on, because this is not my area. This I don't know. The girls, as I say, they were honest. They didn't know exactly how to be doing with it, so they said they needed the NEPS to really come on board, to sit down in a room, to figure out a plan. And when I went back then again for the second time to NEPS, the lady's response was, because I asked her, please, can we make a meeting, because this was going on too long. And her response was, do you not realise that I have other cases? Do you think that I can just drop everything and take on your child just like that? Do you not realise there's a waiting list? So I had waited 3 years before I went anywhere near them, and I was promised the moon and the stars when he went on there, that any bother that I could get in contact with her. And the time that I reached out for her help, that was the response I got. So at that stage then, I felt, right, okay, and at that stage, Nathan's confidence was low anyways, was totally floored. So I thought, right, I need to do something here. So I did take him to kinesiology, and a fair play, the girl, she did help, give him emotional remedies and all. But at that, it still didn't sort the situation out of as regards that he's still in the classroom, sitting at lunchtime on his own. I then went to his psychologist that assessed him, and I asked her for her help to see if she could, do some one-to-one talking to again build up his confidence. But again, because she explained to me, because Nathan was getting on okay at home, as regards that he was able to go to his martial arts and his rugby, that she would not be able to take him on because it was only school solely related.
So it was one particular space specific.
Yes, exactly. So I had been to school, I had been to the NEPS, I had been to a psychologist, and I was going round and I was getting nowhere, and nobody could give me answers. As I say, the kinesiologist did help him emotionally, but still he was attached to that classroom because this was a security blanket. And even to this day, he is still in that classroom on his own at lunchtime.
So
yes,
what do you think the solution is here? Because it sounds to me like if he did make a close friend, or even a small group, 2 or 3 friends that he could hang around the school in, that a lot of the behaviour that is adapted might be reversed, or adopted might be reversed.
I do think that, but I also think, Greg, if you don't want somebody being a part of your group, that's okay, but do not turn around and say to people, I don't want you in our group, I don't like you.
Yeah.
It's the words
that are cutting as well.
The amount of times that he has said to me that he has been told, I don't like you.
But do you know, since if you've raised this issue, has the school called an assembly or anything just to talk about how they treat you? Because even it doesn't matter for what reason someone has been spoken to like that. I would have thought there's a charter in every school to deal with bullying or whatever it might be, and it doesn't matter for what reason people say nasty things to you. It should be treated equally. I'm surprised there hasn't been a response in terms of, I don't think reprimanding the children that have said but it's about education and saying, look, in this school, this is how we treat each other. Lots of us are different in very different ways, and we don't judge each other on that. And explain a little bit about how maybe it varies, of course, but maybe, some behaviour traits that they should look out for, and to sort of try and give a little bit of... I just wonder sometimes too as well, Stephanie, and I'm not trying to stir anything, and we're not speaking about individuals, but, could he make a new friend, and that new friend say, I've made a new friend when they're at home, and he said something like this, and then the parents say, well, stay clear of him then. Do you know what I mean? I just wonder if it's not just inside the school, if it's right across society, if there's a lack of understanding and empathy and sort of... do you get where I'm coming from?
I do and I don't.
Well, what I'm saying is, like you says, he can act a little bit different or say certain things.
Yes.
Maybe children he says that to are carrying that home, and their parents or guardians are saying, well, stay clear of him then. So they're telling
their children to go back and say...
There's no defence for that. I'm just saying what I'm trying to get to here is that this could be just broader. It's not just within the school. All of us maybe need to listen to what you're saying and speak to our children when they get home.
Yeah, even adults, I agree on that there, definitely, yes, for sure. But as regards in relation to school, no, the school haven't done anything as regards having an assembly, which I think would be great. I'm again to bring in that it is unacceptable to treat anybody the way that Nathan has been treated. Yeah. And this is why it came to head on Tuesday, because he did get the conference. We were away in Portugal last week. I took him away for a week's break, and we had a magical time. And my child was happy. And our flight was late on the Sunday coming back, so we didn't let him on a Monday. So I dropped Nathan off, his father dropped Nathan off on Tuesday morning, and I collected him at 4 o'clock. And I was obviously thinking he'd be in great spirits because sure, he's only got a couple of days left till his summer break. Yes, he has exams, but still, Nathan, he'd be happy just getting a few days off. And as soon as my child got into the car, his words were, Mommy, I hate this place. Yeah. Everybody hates me. Do I have to go back here? He was nearly in tears as soon as he got into the car. And I was in good humour at that stage. And I was just totally floored because I had no notion what happened or where this came into or what happened. So I tried to ask, what happened? But because he then was starting to get emotional, then he closes down on you. And he then start to get a wee bit anxious. So then I thought, right, I'll just drive a wee bit down the road, and then I'll gently maybe try and approach it again as to what happened. So got him kind of calm down again. And then I said, hey, what, did something happen or what? And then he says, because he got a wee bit of confidence, because he had a week out of the school, he thought that he would try again, Greg, to try and get a friend. Yeah. So he went up to this different group of people. He says he didn't even know them, but he was that desperate for a friend. Do you know what I mean? To try and be in part of the group. But again, for the third or fourth time, they turn around and say to him, no, you cannot be in our group. We don't like you. Go away. And he was just totally, he just thought to himself, why am I even bothering? So he had a week's holiday in Portugal, come back, he'd come back refreshed. He thought he'd give it a go. He got a wee bit of, boost being away from the school. And again, same response. Don't like you. Go away. Yeah. Those words to anybody.
And also too, and you mentioned something a little earlier on, is that, when you tried to raise the issue and you were knocked back and accused of sort of, I can't drop everything to help you. Then that you were being feel guilty for seeking the best for your child. That language doesn't seem right to me when I heard it. You know what I mean? It's like pushing it back on you for being for being a problem yourself. Do you not understand how busy I am? I've got other people to look after. Do you want me to not look after these other children and drop everything and come to yours? If that's how we're treating parents when they do fight for their children, that's another significant problem, I think.
Yes, no, absolutely. I was speechless on the phone, but my response was to that lady, as I said, was you said to me that when he started, that if I ever had any problems, and I explained to the lady that in 3 years I have never once been in contact with you, and the time that I reached out to you, you're telling me that? Yeah. I try to remain calm. I am a very positive person.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to go back to this assembly thing, because I do know some schools are great. They'll bring in motivational speakers. They'll bring in people to talk about martial arts or self-defense. Yes. Why, if they're not, why are they not bringing in people to teach kindness and understanding.
Yes, well, they do actually now, in saying that now, they do have Jigsaw in the school now at the moment.
Yeah.
But I actually haven't heard Nathan been, like, as regards having talks or anything with Jigsaw. But in saying that, Greg, I have booked with Jigsaw one-to-one with Nathan. But because they're that busy, they can't see him in July.
Okay.
So I have, down the line now, I am thinking, putting things in place that I am going to, over the summer.
But you're heading into the summer and, hopefully now Nathan thrives, with the good weather and stuff that he enjoys as you've been outlining. But as September edges ever closer, is he going to transition you next year, or is it?
No, he's just going on to 5th year.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't, I just couldn't have him endure another year.
I just wonder maybe, because even people I know close to me had very small groups of friends, and during transition year, their friends group exploded. But I suppose you have to make that choice. You know your son best. But my point I was getting to there is, though, that, you might get a break from him feeling like this for the summer. In fact, he might even sort of return to himself. And as September approaches, the anxiety is going to start building for both you and he and the rest of the family.
Yes, no, I do realise that, but that's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to put him into groups, like peer jumping and all that there. That's to try and build up his confidence and to try and maybe to get to know different people. Do you know what I mean? Outside of, more so of school, like he knows people obviously outside of school as it is, but even maybe get that chance that he might meet somebody that's around the same age or as him, that he maybe might be in that same year, and that they might have something in common. So that's what I'm praying and hoping for. Like you have to stay positive, Craig.
Of course.
That's the only way you can do about it.
Yeah, but we don't want it just. I mean, my base of that is the idea that, that it starts all over again in September. I hope it's not like that. I would, and I'm speaking as a parent here and thinking what I would feel like in that situation. But you've a different outlook to me, Stephanie, and I respect that fully. But what's clear is from coming in on the messages is that you're not alone. There's lots of people, and what's happening too here is it's wide. The conversation is broadening out. Bullying for any reason, getting quite a few texts in, people saying that schools just aren't dealing, not all schools, but some schools just aren't dealing with this the way they should. Stephanie, I hope for everyone that the summer brings good things, as does the next term. I really do. And I appreciate you sharing the story. And it's a story, as I say, as you know already from speaking on social media, that a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, no, definitely. And thank you for having me on, Craig. And also, can I also shout out a massive thank you to everybody that messaged, and even the response to people offering to take Nathan out on work placements and help him build him up. Like, it's been unreal.
But you can get him up confident and to approach people and to make friends. But if they aren't receiving that, if they're still saying bad things in reverse, that we need to make sure everyone is more understanding. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely,
Okay.
That would be, definitely.
Yeah. All right, listen, thanks, Stephanie, for that. I appreciate it. All right, take care of yourself, and best wishes to Nathan and the rest of the family. 086 60 25,000 if you wish to comment on that, or call us on 07491 25,000. You're also watching with us on social media. Feel free to comment there, or go straight to our website, highlandradio.com, and watch live.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
In this week's RTE Guide, in our green issue, Home Rescue's Roisin Murphy on sustainable living, Eco-Builder Harrison Gardner on building your own home, Catherine Fulvio on locally sourced produce, plus eco-travel, easy on the wallet and the planet. From upcycling to downsizing, everything and more. RTE Guide, on sale now.
Sinn Féin trebles support amongst farmers. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we publish results of our exclusive survey of over 1,200 farmers. For more, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal a sector-by-sector breakdown of farmers' first preference voting intentions, plus a 15-year trend analysis, fertiliser prices easing on global and local markets, and we've essential advice about the new nitrates rules.
Plus, don't miss our 9-page tractor special with top tips on buying the right tractor for your farm. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, on sale now.
At Bus Éireann, we're on a journey to become the most customer-centred and sustainable transport company in Ireland. We're hiring for various positions nationwide, so come on board and join our diverse team, from drivers to engineers and finance to HR professionals. Apply now at careers.buséireann.ie. Bus Éireann, together we can go further.
iMotors Nissan, the place for award-winning range of vehicles including the Micra, Leaf, Duke, Qashqai and the all-new Nissan Ariya. There's a model to suit everyone. Call today or visit our website at imotors.ie for more details, or call 074 913 4567 to arrange a test drive.
Okay, so you might have heard at the start of the programme I flagged that we were hoping to bring you some good news this morning. Well, here it is. It's been confirmed that following discussions, the angiogram service at Letterkenny University Hospital will continue. Letterkenny University Hospital will continue to run the service directly. The angiogram service has until now been run by an independent private operator that travelled to LUH weekly. The confirmation follows previous news that the important service would no longer be run by the mobile unit service provider currently in place. Minister Charlie McConalogue has been commenting. He's said that he's been in contact with his colleague, Minister Donnelly, and leadership in LUH and the CELTA group to make sure that Donegal would not be left without angiogram services from the 1st of July 2022. So that is good news. We'll have to tease it out a little lot more to make sure the exact same services are being provided as were before, but that's what we're being told is happening. And who's to say that maybe even this could lead to further good news. I don't know. We've had no indication on that. But those angiogram services are going to continue. And if you've listened to this programme at all over the last month, you will know that we've covered it extensively, and we were a bit pessimistic, I think. A lot of people talking about it. But it turns out that we should have been positive. Because the news is good. But we'll bring you more on that after 10 o'clock. I just wanted to get that news out to you just as soon as it was okay for me to do so. Right, Leonard joins us now. Hi, Leonard. You were listening to Stephanie there, and you get what she's saying.
Greg, she said it. She's speaking for hundreds of families around Donegal. It's like the part that stuck with me, what Stephanie said, is like she doesn't really need a lot of help over the years, but when she went to look for the help, which we were in summer of the first one, and then you're just hitting walls, and it's a fight all the time to get a service. And I keep saying there's a child in the middle here who's suffering or who needs help, and you're just being told about waiting lists. You're told about we have 300 kids on a list. And it's just, you're just a number,
Yeah, and I think you picked up on the tone of the language that she would have heard. You would have an understanding of that. It's almost like, why are you bothering us? Don't you understand how busy we are? We've got an awful lot of children to deal with. What, you think you're in a special case sort of a thing?
Yeah, our thing about CAMS, we were in nearly 2 years, and you're being told, you're on a list, and but this is a child that needs help now, and when you get a letter at the end, they say 6 months plus. Now we're in the system now, Greg, and it's the other part. When you're in the system, it's great, but you've enough going on in life. It's the fight and the phone calls and the letters and the just chasing all the time.
What kind of stress does that bring, Leonard? Because obviously you want the best for your child, but it impacts everyone. It must be really difficult to be dealing with.
So, Greg, every family has their stress. Look, not just family with special needs. Every family. But in our case, we weren't getting a lot of sleep at night, and just our child needed help, and that's the killer. You just feel helpless because you can't give the child that they need the help they need,
And do you think it's because there's a lack of investment, a lack of resources, a lack of the staff available to help these children and their families?
Our oldest child now is 17, and we were getting a far better service 12, 13 years ago. When you rang about things, you had to wait, but Greg, you didn't have to wait 6 months or a year, or it's even our oldest child needed to see CAMS a couple of years ago. And he was just going through a really tough time at home, at school. Even school was telling us he's not coping at school,
Yeah.
And so, and that's the part they don't get. This child is suffering, and the family's suffering because you don't want to see your child suffering. And as I say, when you need CAMS, you need it now, or when you need NEPs, or that lady there, her child is suffering, and she needs help now. She doesn't need the help in 6 months' time.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just the services aren't there. Like, and I know they'll tell you they're inundated with numbers and all that, but it's like even now, like I always think there should be more after-school stuff for children with special needs and up there. Like, and there's probably not enough invested at. Like our oldest fellow would probably struggle to make friends too. Like, but I have to say the school he's up in Ergo College, and they're absolutely fabulous to him. You couldn't fault them. They're very good. Like, but again, there's a great understanding in the school, Greg.
But do they do anything actively to encourage him to make friends, or do they speak to the rest of the pupils to give them the bit of understanding that we can all be different, maybe?
Well, Greg, hand on heart, he has never had an issue up there.
You see, that's what I think's the gap for Stephanie.
But
anyway.
I think, in fairness, the students up there have probably a great understanding because there's an autism, there's an ASD unit in the school. And in fairness, I would say day to day, they're educating them on autism and
Well, see, that's what's important. Leonard, listen, thank you for your input. I appreciate it. I really do.
No bother.
Take care of yourself. All right, thank you very much indeed. Right, a jury last night ruled that Amber Heard defamed her former husband Johnny Depp following an explosive 6-week libel trial. Pirates of the Caribbean star Depp, 58, was awarded €50 million in damages after suing Ms. Heard for $50 million over an article she wrote on domestic violence. That was reduced somewhat because of the local laws, but it's not reported in the papers for some of the punitive damages. I believe it was reduced. And this, I've never seen anything like this trial and this case, and how it's divided people, the language that's being used, and what's happened since. Nolene Blackwell is the CEO of the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre and is kind enough to join us this morning. Nolene, thank you.
Good morning, Greg. Good to talk to you.
I don't know if it's by accident or design, but say, for instance, the Me Too movement, this has just completely thrown that under the bus. What does this mean? What does this mean to someone listening who, God forbid, was the victim of a sex crime last night, or is the victim of ongoing domestic abuse? Because there's arguments you could be made in either way that it will the only answer, it ends up discouraging people coming forward, really, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I those are the people in my mind as well, the people who are queuing up for a 10 o'clock or an 11 o'clock hearing this morning in some court in relation to domestic violence. And somebody is saying, see, I told you so, to some one of them along the way. Now, the thing was, he got that award for defamation for the damage that Heard did to Depp's reputation. She also got an award of just over $1 million, I think, for because his lawyers had said she had created it as an elaborate hoax, and the jury also found that wasn't the case. So I think in this case it was just it was a circus for the general public, and was treated like that. I mean, a colleague of ours in the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre was in a cafe where they had separate tip jars, depending on whether you wanted to tip Depp or Heard. It was at that level that it was just a show.
And what it is too, because this exploded on TikTok, my concern as well is and it's primarily young people, and it was the interactions of billions. Yeah. It changes maybe a generation, 2 or 3 generations' attitude to the actual crime, not whether how bad it is or not, or whether it's true or not. It's just murked it all. So
I would say, though, that it does remind me in a lesser way. Once celebrities are involved, one of the things I would say for celebrities is, like, Depp's reputation was damaged by that article that Heard put out on a day that she was launching a new film. Heard was found not to have made it up. It wasn't an elaborate hoax. But if you're celebrities, it's really hard to do these things quietly. So I would say, on the one hand, I would say the courts are no place to really make make the best decisions around how to deal with the breakup of a relationship.
No, and it became about personalities and her interaction with the jury versus his. But the reality is this was a incredibly toxic relationship, and that's evident from the audio. It sounded like there was alcohol involved in a lot of their interactions with each other. I don't believe that she made a formal complaint, a criminal complaint, but decided to write some sort of an anonymous article which didn't mention him but clearly implicated him. And then, his claims of what was done to him and so on and so forth, all of it really it just sets everything back in my view. That's really what comes out of it, because the news cycle will change. This will go away, but the damage is left in its wake, and it'll be felt in every corner of the world.
That is right. That is right. And it is hard enough to actually speak about the sort of intimate abuse that can happen in a relationship. And this has done no favors to any victims of sexual abuse. But in truth, the courts are used the whole time in order to silence people. So he brought this defamation article too late to silence her, but in order to put a chilling effect on what Amber Heard might say in the future in relation to his reputation. That happens everywhere. That happens in Ireland. At the moment, for instance, one of the things going through our legislature, proposed in our legislature, actually by Senator Lynn Ruane, is that people can't sign non-disclosure agreements unless they're really clear why they want to do it.
Okay.
Because litigation can have a chilling effect as well. I will also say, though, that there's a way in which we learn that abusive relationships should not be tolerated by anyone. The level of disrespect in that relationship from an early stage.
And it was in both directions. But one other thing, because we're quite tight to 10, at the same time, right, we do have a default position, and I've seen it as well, that you believe her, and it could believe him, whichever.
Yeah.
And if the photos were doctored, if things were exaggerated, Amber Heard also perhaps did damage in that these were found to be false allegations, because every claim he made was found in favour of him.
Yeah. So that business of I believe her or I believe him, that is just the normal. Normally, if you say something to me or I say something to you or to one of your listeners, you will believe me at the start. I may not be proven to have a court case that I can bring, but you start by believing and then you interrogate it in a proper way. Whereas in truth, until recently, nobody believed victims of sexual violence or domestic violence, or very few did. And as a result, the abuse continued.
Yeah.
So
I just feel my concern is that every jury going into any case like this have been consuming this, and they're bound to have been influenced one way or the other. In the last minute, though, I just want you to speak to people who are going through this at the moment, or maybe they have the SSA, God forbid, may be subjected to an assault on a night out. What is your message to them, those people?
Yeah. So first of all, what people need to understand is that sexual assault, domestic violence have a horrible impact on people, and people can reach out. There is help out there, not going to court necessarily, not even going to the guards sometimes, but just there are confidential helplines available where people can just tell what happened to them and get the help they need first. Then consider, are they going to disclose it to guards if it's a criminal offence, to solicitors if it's a domestic breakdown of a marriage. But there is help available out there, and no one should suffer in silence. Please reach out. Please, if this has hurt you, if you're going into court at this stage or going through a process and someone is using this against you, use the objective helplines that are out there. Use your own lawyers. Use the guards, who are getting better and better at understanding this.
All right, Nolene, thanks for your time this morning. I do
Thank
appreciate
you,
it. Okay. That is Nolene Blackwell, CEO of the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre. We'll be back with much more on the programme after we take a break for the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring biggest ever sale. 10 million euros worth of stock in store and ready to take home. All tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything slashed in price. Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Ireland's biggest range, best prices, and in store to take home today. Sale now on.
If you are 65 or over, or you have a weak immune system, you can now get your second COVID-19 booster vaccine. Your vaccine is due 4 months after your last vaccine. It will improve your protection from COVID-19. You can book a vaccination centre appointment on hsc.ie or contact a participating GP or pharmacy. For more information on your second booster or to book an appointment, visit hsc.ie. or call our team in HSE Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSE for us all.
As part of National Food Waste Recycling Week, Donegal County Council, in partnership with Bryson Recycling and EnviroGrind Limited, are holding free compost giveaway events. Householders can collect free compost made from food and garden waste. Food waste recycling starter packs will also be available to support the use of the food waste recycling bin. The final compost giveaway day takes place today, Thursday, from 10:30am to 12:30pm in Lahey Recycling Centre and 2pm to 4pm at Stranauler Recycling Centre. Householders should bring their own bags or container to collect the compost. Compost available while stocks last.
Beat the cost of Brexit with no customs charges. Do you need a UK address for your limited company or personal use? Space Hub in Derry can provide you with your own mailbox. Have your post and parcels delivered to Space Hub and collect at your convenience. There's brand new 20-foot shipping containers now in stock, ideal for all your storage needs at our Springtown and Coolmore depots. Find us on Facebook at spacehubderry.com or call 04871 878077 for more details.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. The angiogram service is to be retained at Letterkenny University Hospital. Concern had been growing over the past number of weeks as the service was to be withdrawn at the end of this month. A meeting between the Sale to Healthcare Group and members of the Regional Health Forum and Oireachtas members this morning was told that the go-ahead has been given for the angiogram service to be provided by the hospital itself. Minister Charlie McConlogue says it's a significant move for health services in Donegal.
I think what's really important here is that the expertise and indeed the machinery infrastructure, which have been supported by the Friends of Letterkenny Hospital, and the built infrastructure in terms of the radiological intervention suite, that the capacity is there in the hospital. And where the hospital has the capacity, it's really important we support it to develop all services we can locally. I think this is a really good example of that happening, and I look forward now to that service continuing to be provided at Letterkenny Hospital, but now by the hospital staff itself.
Gardaí are continuing to appeal for information regarding the whereabouts of a woman missing from Dublin who is known to frequent Donegal. They say they are extremely concerned for the welfare of 50-year-old Clodagh Murphy, who was last seen in the Fox Rocks area of Dublin 18 yesterday morning. Tom Douglas reports.
Clodagh Murphy is described as being approximately 5'8" in height with a slim build, brown eyes and brown greyish hair which is usually tied in a bun. When last seen, Clodagh was wearing a long pink dress and black shoes and had sunglasses on her head. She was driving a blue Audi A3 hatchback car with a registration 07D 46026. Gardaí say she's known to frequent the Dunfanaghy area. Anyone with information regarding Clodagh's whereabouts is asked to contact Dunleary Garda Station.
The Housing Minister has failed to agree to pre-legislative scrutiny of the defective concrete blocks bill. When asked in the Dáil by Donegal Deputy Pearse Doherty if there would be pre-legislative scrutiny, Minister Darragh O'Brien didn't offer a direct answer, but instead said they are proceeding with the scheme in consultation with homeowners. The Micah Action Group has launched a petition calling on all TDs and senators to support their calls for pre-legislative scrutiny to ensure the right scheme is delivered for homeowners. Minister O'Brien is standing by his commitment to bring the bill before the Dáil in the coming weeks.
We intend to get this legislation through the Dáil by the summer recess. You know how important it is that we do that, and I expect that as the main opposition party that you will support government in making sure that you support the legislation so that it's passed before the summer recess. We're proceeding with the scheme in consultation with the homeowners imminently.
Nearly 44,000 fewer women were screened for breast cancer last year than in 2019. Just over 127,000 were screened by Breast Check in 2021 compared to nearly 171,000 2 years earlier. Almost 23,500 women were screened this January and February, about 5,000 below the 2-month average in 2019. Chair of Donegal Action for Cancer Care, Betty Holmes, believes in terms of the Donegal picture, efforts are being made by Breast Check to offset the delays caused by the pandemic. She says it's vital women attend their appointments to help address the backlog.
If you get invited to Breast Check, please do everything you can to make your appointment.
if you can't make the appointment, contact Breast Check and reschedule it, because someone else would be able to use that appointment.
The Dáil has been told the housing adaptation scheme for disabled persons needs to be overhauled in such a way that it meets the needs of people today. Deputy Thomas Pringle relayed to the Dáil how one person received approval for a €30,000 grant, but it falls well short of the estimated cost of the work, which is now over €70,000. Deputy Pringle says the underfunding of the scheme was already clear 20 years ago.
I remember back in Donegal County Council back in the early 2000s, the council, because of the reduction amount of money that they were getting for the grants every year, introduced a limit on what could be available for different types of works to try and extend out the amount of money and make it reach more people, and which actually reduced the effectiveness of the grants and actually doing what they were supposed to do. That's a problem, and I think that we have to try and find a way to actually make the grants do what they're supposed to do and actually make them worthwhile for people to apply for.
Weather now becoming overcast today with rain and drizzle developing. Highest temperatures of 13 or 14 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notice says for this Thursday morning, June the 2nd. The death has taken place of Jack Patton of Havoy Ballybuffet, reposing at his residence today and tomorrow from 2 o'clock until 11 o'clock. Funeral from there on Saturday afternoon at 1:30 for service in Kilty Vogue Parish Church at 2 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the family plot in Stranorlar Parish Church. Family flowers only, please. Donations if desired to Clohan Day Centre, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Mary Teresa MacDonald, St Finian's Park, Moville. Mary Teresa's funeral mass will take place tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock in St Pius X Church, Moville, followed by burial in Ballybrack Cemetery. And the death has taken place of Con Smith, Carrick Carndonagh. Con has gifted his body to medical research. To honour his passing, there will be a small gathering of family and friends at his home on Saturday, June the 11th from 3 o'clock, with a memorial celebration by the family at 3:30. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
And you're very welcome back to the second hour of the 9 till noon show. A lot coming up in this hour. We're going to be bringing you details of the retention of those angiogram services at Letterkenny University Hospital. So much more besides. Good morning to Michael, Paul, Annie, Beth, Kathleen, Grania and others who are watching with us on our social media. If you want to engage with the show that way, you can go on our website, highlandradio.com, and watch live. You'll see the links there, or go straight to our social medias, Facebook and YouTube, and you can watch us there as well. So we've had a lot of reaction to giving over the first hour of the programme to highlight the issues facing parents. Some of your comments here from Facebook. Thank you so much to this lady. It's so hard to explain. Open the floor to a doctor, a teacher, parents, and how the child feels too. She's so brave discussing this issue. There are so many children struggling. She speaks for a lot of parents groups, repeating what this lady is saying all around Ireland this morning. Today, you can feel the helplessness in her voice. So difficult. Another, I totally understand. I think society is ignorant to children with additional needs. I'm on the same boat as you. My child is in the first year of secondary school. He's getting his holidays now and he won't see anyone from school for meetups over summer at all. I have your back and I support you. Another, school seems not to deal with bullying. They can sweep it under the carpet. Unfortunately, I'm dealing with something similar at the minute. I hear where that woman is coming from. Living on your nerves every day, it's heartbreaking. Another, crying, listening to this mum's pain. There's a large number of autistic children in schools now that I definitely agree from baby, infant, and information on their behaviour should be taught to children. These children should be given every support to integrating into classes, because if and we've seen it, if a child were in a wheelchair, for example, I think the far more effort might be given to sort of saying to including them in activities, to ensuring that there was no name calling. It would not even be thought of. Or someone of a different race or whatever it might be. It would not be tolerated at all. So if a school has been notified that certain language is being used to another child because they are, in inverted commas, different, that should be treated in the same way. And there should be the same level of education to tell people that it's not okay. We already know they're saying schools are very actively talking about not judging people on sexual orientation, on gender, on race, whatever it might be. Why, if it's not, why is the same emphasis not being put on making sure that all children, because they're all different in one way or other, that they are educated how to treat each other better? Some schools do it great. I know some schools do it great. Others clearly not so much. This caller: breaks my heart listening to that wonderful mother talking about her son. Teenagers can be so cruel at the best of times. Wishing your son all the best. Well done for speaking out. We as parents have to take an awful lot of the heavy lifting on how our teenagers treat someone else. If I thought for a second that one of my boys was speaking to another child like that, there'd be absolute hell to pay, and they know that too. And I mean in terms of, PlayStations being, that stuff, the way you could influence how a child behaves. I'm not talking about anything else. Hi, it's up to parents to tell their children that all children are different and to be at least civil and understanding to every child. I tell mine, you never know what your own children will be like. And listen, children click and they get on with each other and form long-lasting friendships, and that's fine. And some don't, and there are children who are going into school and don't have any friends, and they may not have autism, or you know what I mean. So there's an awful lot going on in there, but unless we fully equip children to not judge other people because they may appear different, well, if we don't get that right, then we are falling behind. Let me see. I want to see if there's any further comments on that in front of me. I know they're coming in, but we go through them and then they're handed to me a lot of the time just to make sure they're on topic. Right, and they're put into different topics. I will get to them as the morning wears on. Stay right where you are. It's jackpot day. I know a lot of you have your bingo books out. Hopefully you're going to win this €7,400. The money's flying out the door. Lee Gooch already gave away over €700 this morning.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday the 2nd of June, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €7,400 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S9, it's game number 22. The jackpot number is 79. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 34 25 1 66 67 4 58 55 46 and finally 82. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Dad, can we get these and a pack of these?
Here we go again, cleaning out the sweets aisle. Wasn't like that in my day. Ooh, those bars are good though. No, sticking to the new plan.
Please.
Remember what we all agreed? We're cutting down on junk like crisps, chocolate and biscuits, even me.
At 12 p.m. on Saturday, Jerry started putting fewer treats in the trolley. Let's go easy on the treats. Start with smaller ones less often to keep your family healthy. Find more ways to start at makeastart.ie. Brought to you by Safe Food, the HSE and Healthy Ireland.
At Creaseless Supermarket, we are renowned for offering quality and value for all your convenience needs. We have expanded and are now offering a full on-POS service. Pay a bill, send a package or lodge into a bank account. Our on-POS service is available Monday to Saturday. Creaseless Supermarket, we're here for you.
Years ago, I used to dread my motor insurance renewal. Then a friend told me about O'Malley Scanlon Insurance in Ballybofey and Dunlow. They do all the hard work. They contact all the major insurance underwriters and they get the very best possible quote for me. They have saved me a small fortune over the years and they could do the same for you.
When your insurance comes up for renewal, contact O'Malley Scanlon Insurance at their Ballybuffet office on 9131020 or their Dunlow office on 952206. O'Malley Scanlon is regulated by the Central Bank.
Right now, Ukraine's hospitals are on life support. They are in desperate need of medicine, equipment and supplies. Without your urgent help, they will struggle to provide life-saving care to the most vulnerable, sick and injured children. UNICEF are on the ground ensuring medical supplies such as oxygen are reaching hospitals and maternity wards. But we can only do this with your help. Donate now at unicef.ie to support a hospital in Ukraine and help save children's lives. Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. I hope now we can welcome on to it Minister Charlie McConaloe. Can you hear me okay, Minister?
I can, Greg, yeah.
Good stuff.
Okay?
I can, loud and clear. Good to have you with us. Okay, some good news this morning in that you've been able to announce that the angiogram service is to be retained at Letterkenny University Hospital. Can you tell us what was going on in the background, your interactions with the Health Minister?
Yeah, it is good news. And of course, where this comes from is that up until now and currently and up until the end of June, there's a 1 day a week angiogram service provided at Letterkenny Hospital, but it's done by a mobile cath lab unit which comes to the hospital once a week. And a couple of months ago, that the company that provides that service, so it was providing the equipment and the staff who would come with it, it informed the Saleto Hospital Group that it was no longer providing that service in the future. So obviously that presented a real challenge because we would have about 350 Donegal patients a year who would have angiograms using that mobile cath lab. So as a result of that, then there had been significant engagement. Councillor Kieran Brogan and Jerry Crawford, my colleagues, would have raised this initially at the Regional Health Forum when they were informed about it and engaged with myself. And it would have been supported by other public representatives as well. And then I would have discussed it with Minister Stephen Donnelly, brought it to his attention, as well as engaging with the Saleto Hospital Group Management and Tony Canavan, the CEO, and also, importantly, our hospital manager in Letterkenny, Sean Murphy. So, but the over the last number of weeks and couple of months then, what was ongoing within Saleto was that they were doing an assessment of the capacity of Letterkenny Hospital to be able to actually operate that service in-house in the hospital instead, as opposed to having the mobile unit come once a week. And Sean Murphy, the manager there, had done a lot of work in terms of putting the case together. And we're fortunate in that we have a very good cardiology team in Letterkenny, led by Dr. David, and a very, very strong team. And the assessment, and the other key enabling piece here as well was the fact that we have the infrastructure, because the new building that was built a couple of years ago included a new interventional radiology suite. So the facilities are modern, and indeed the equipment in terms of the technological and medical equipment required is modern. And key to that was the role that Letterkenny Friends of Letterkenny Hospital organisation played, because a few years ago they would have helped to pay for new equipment, which is equipment that is going to be used now. So,
and in fairness to the hospital manager, Sean Murphy, he did say on this programme that he was confident that there would be a continuance of this survey. I think he says, look, you can never say anything certain. He was confident. I think really some of that confidence might have been undone, for right or wrong, in conversations with Mr. Canavan, because he talked about, an expert team reviewing this, and there was a sense that this really could have been a process to say that we can't do it up to a certain standard. So thankfully we can. Do you know if that assessment that Mr. Canavan talked of, did that go ahead and did that conclude and the experts suggested, right, we can do this, this is how we do it? Or through interventions from the likes of yourself and the Health Minister, was there pressure put on them to say that, no, it's not about whether we can or can't, you just have to find a way to make sure we can? What was the process there?
That assessment did take place, and it was led by Dr. Pat Nash, who's the clinical cardiology lead for the Saleto Hospital Group, and he would have engaged closely with the cardiology team in Letterkenny, as well as Sean Murphy, the hospital manager. And of course, the key starting point here has to be, in terms of the provision of services, that they're safe. That's the starting point. We cannot be providing any services that are not safe. So that had to be established, and also that the equipment is appropriate as well to be of modern standard, and that is safe. But as Sean Murphy would have outlined to you in his interview with you, and I know it was emphasised by Councillor Ciaran Brogan when he spoke to you as well, we do have very good infrastructure in Letterkenny, both in terms of this medical team and in terms of the equipment, thanks to the support of the Friends of Letterkenny Hospital in their contribution to that. So obviously, from a political point of view, there was very strong support from Minister Donnelly in relation to the service and keeping it in the area. But the starting point has to be establishing that can be done safely. And where services can be provided safely in a region and a local area, they should be provided as local as safely possible to the people who are availing of it. And that needs to be the principle that informs how we provide health services. That has to be key to the development of Letterkenny Hospital as well.
That is
in this case.
That is reassuring. But do you think then we need to work on communication? Because maybe there was a lot of stress and anxiety here that wasn't required. You mentioned your colleague, Councillor Ciaran Brogan. He talked about the lack of communication that he was hearing of meetings and of reviews from the media and not directly. You know, do you think we need to look at how these things are communicated then? Because we've arrived at good news, and it is good news, and it's to be welcomed. But I just wonder if a lot of the stress and anxiety along the way, I don't think the media locally fan the flames, Minister. Honestly, I hope we don't anyway. I think we try and platform concerns. But when you have elected reps who are also on health committees and they don't know this kind of information to be able to give it to the public, there's a breakdown in communication there somewhere that I think if we got that right, it might help going forward. What do you think? And we all have a role to play in that, of course, and I think you've highlighted that in the past. But you know, I just hope we can learn some lessons. Do you agree in any way?
No, I think it's really important. The Regional Health Forum plays a really important role. It's important that information comes through that. And I know Councillor Ciaran Brogan and Councillor Jerry Crawford, who's my two colleagues who work in that, liaise very closely with myself, and that happens across all political parties as well. But I think there is a challenge here, which is probably an unavoidable one, in that when you have such a change as what happened here, it does create uncertainty, and you can't remove that uncertainty overnight, because it did require the assessment to be carried out and the appropriate clinical approval and assurance that the capacity is there to do it and the ability is there to do it, and have that all verified. Now, I know Letterkenny Hospital were very clear from the outset that they had the capacity, the great team, cardiology team, and also the facilities there in terms of the new interventional radiological suite, which has been recently built in the last couple of years, and also then with the equipment that have been in place with the support of the Friends of Letterkenny. But of course, that had to be verified. So and that uncertainty that is there in that interim period is probably unavoidable, in the sense that until you have the clarity that the service is able to be maintained, which is the clarity we got in the last this morning in terms of the meeting with CELTA, then people are going to naturally be anxious as to whether the service will continue. But there was very strong work that went on by CELTA, by Sean Murphy and his team, working with the cardiology team at Letterkenny, and also at government political level, working with Minister Donnelly to try and ensure that process happened promply. Yeah. And what's really important now is that as that mobile service comes to an end and concludes at the end of this month, that Letterkenny Hospital will be in a position to transition into moving that service in hospital, and that can only strengthen.
No, it's good news.
Letterkenny Hospital
now,
too.
Obviously, you know the mobile unit came up on regular occasion. Does this mean that we might actually see an improvement in the facilities that are available? And does this also mean that maybe we can start using that piece of equipment fundraised by the people of Donegal, to its full potential or somewhere close to that? Have you had any indication on that, or is the conversation just starting on that now?
No, it provides the capacity to do that now. So what's going to happen from the end of June is that the service that was being provided by the mobile unit the same level of service will move into the hospital. But obviously, now that it's in the hospital, the staffing is there to be able to operate that seamlessly, taking over. But there is the capacity there to look to see how we can increase that capacity over the time ahead and even use it more. So it's a really good starting point. Now, there is a cardiology review happening of national cardiology services at the moment, which will inform how national cardiology services evolve over the next number of years. I think the fact that we are now having this service provided inside the hospital and that is going to be up and running over the next number of months puts Letterkenny in a much stronger position in advance of that review as well to have that service established. And the other thing that's going to be important as well is that we continue to look to see how we can provide the services at a regional level, working with, for example, Altona-Galvin Hospital, because we have seen really good developments there in the last few years where there's engagement now between Letterkenny and Altona-Galvin for emergency interventional steps, so that if there's someone in Donegal who needs emergency intervention in terms of stents, for example, they can be brought immediately to Altona-Galvin. So how we work together in the future like that to the benefit of both hospitals, both Letterkenny and Altona-Galvin, but particularly and ultimately what's important to the benefit of the people of Donegal is going to be important too. And I think coming in the week as well, Greg, where we have had confirmation of a second full-time permanent breast cancer surgeon, it's really important too, because again, that's an example of another service, which is provided in the hospital as a satellite from Galway, but it means the services are provided locally. And it's really important that is, again, in a really safe way with really good staff. But that we do as much of that as possible.
No doubt. Two bits of good news.
Looking at Letterkenny Hospital in general, the government are investing in it. It's always more challenging for hospitals that are in the periphery of the country rather than the capital cities in terms of recruitment, and that has been a challenge in the last few years. But the investments in the hospital has been working really hard to develop staff and to develop services. And last year, for example, the largest recruitment campaign in the history of the hospital, where there was sanction for 100 additional staff in the hospital provided in the hospital. We're in the process and over the last while of recruiting additional staff through that. And we've seen the budget, for example.
I know what you're saying, and we were going really well there up until after the permanent appointment of the second breast surgeon. But people appreciate your words about how recruitment investment, but what we hear all the time is people's experience, and it's not the staff. They do very well, but people's experience seems to be disimproving. So we need to feel assured that this investment and this recruitment is actually improving those services, because sometimes it feels like we're going in the other direction. I appreciate your comments. Final quick word, 30 seconds.
Key to that is the staffing and the investment, and we've seen that the budget of the hospital, for example, grow from €100 million 5 or 6 years ago to €160 million today. But absolutely,
but it hasn't improved 60%. But I take your point. It's about the delivery. Very finally,
services and deeper services.
You know yourself, the only opinion polls that matter are the opinion polls on election day. I presume you probably get the Farmers Journal on a Wednesday night. You can't wait to get into it. There's a bit of a study on the popularity of the government. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, as the government combined, really popular, it seems, amongst the farming community. You yourself, your rating is not bad. I don't know, at a difficult time. 21% farmers are positive towards you. 36% are indifferent, so easily swayed. 43%, less than half, negative. What's your reaction to that? I mean, is that a success in difficult times with all the challenges that you have? Less than half of farmers negative towards you? I mean, it's a half glass, half full thing, or does it not matter a hate?
No, you can look at it either way. And listen, you can control the polls, but I've been doing everything I can as minister to support the farming community and to work on their behalf. And ultimately then, I mean, people forming a view when it comes to times to make decisions in terms of elections and that on that. And polls can be useful in the interim period. I know this wasn't a poll conducted by a polling company as such. It was a sample by the Farmers Journal themselves. But I think, listen, I've been happy with the feedback I've been getting for farmers around Donegal in particular. I think certainly the Common Agricultural Policy Programme, which I've brought forward, is one that farmers across Donegal feel is one that's very strong for them and very much recognises their needs, and is bringing the additional funding to the county and to the beef and sheep sector in particular. And the schemes I've brought forward this year in terms of the tillage scheme and the fodder support scheme, the €1,000 per farm family as well to make hay and silage this year, has been welcome. So listen, we'll keep working hard. You certainly, in politics, you'll never please everyone, and that's very true in in the farming services. But I have a good relationship working on behalf of farmers and working hard for fishers as well, I have to say. But and also in general areas in relation to the county. But and listen, that's all you ever have control over is doing the best you can.
All right, thanks for that. I appreciate it. That's Minister Charlie McConalogue, Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine. Just to let you know, later on today, Paul McLaughlin of Ballochder Garden Centre, he'll be on after 11 o'clock. He's answering your gardening questions. So what questions do you have? Every week, every month brings up new situations. So we're going to talk a little bit about lawns. We're going to be talking about watering, the importance of that. And Bloom is ongoing as well too, so we'll get his views on that. So any questions you have as it relates to anything to do with gardening, and you don't have to have a garden. You know, you could have a plant pot, you could have a window box, whatever it is. Get in touch with us now, 086 60 25,000. And at the risk of repeating myself, why stop now, says you. When he's on, we get a lot of questions, and then sometimes I can't get through to them all. So now's your chance to get in early if you can. And we welcome your questions while he's on air, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I just want to make sure that I get to as many of your questions as is possible. And we'll have a general chit-chat as well. 086 60 25,000, by the way. That's your WhatsApps and texts, your voice messages as well. You can send them to us on WhatsApp as well. Not everyone, is as types the same as other people, so if you want to interact via your voice, you can do so too. Send a voice message to 086 60 25,000. We'll pick that up, no problem whatsoever, or call us on 07491 25,000. Alrighty, let's take a break and we will be back.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Quilcha cares for Ireland's forests sustainably. As our country seeks to combat climate change, we'll do more. Our ambition is to create new forests, manage our existing forests for greater carbon capture, and provide more habitats to enhance biodiversity. We'll support creating new homes by delivering sustainable Irish wood products. And we'll increase the number of beautiful forest recreation spaces for everyone to enjoy. Quilcha, forests for climate, nature, wood and people, for a greener future for all.
AB Plant Exports Group are currently buying all types of excavators, loading shovels and backhoes for export from 3 tonne to 70 tonne. Contact AB Plant Exports Group today and you will receive the very best price across Ireland, north and south. For more information, contact AB Plant Exports Group on 0873 779966.
Choose your local Centra for great offers this bank holiday weekend. Like Inspired by Centra sirloin steak 440 gram, only €7. Kyo's Crisps 125 gram sharing bags, half price now €1.39 each. And in our French wine sale, Vacaras Remy Ferbra, only €12. Celebrate summer, choose Centra. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy Cold sensibly.
Enjoy the sunshine this weekend by taking advantage of the fantastic bank holiday weekend offers at Cooney's Home and Garden Centre. Double leg chair reduced from €599 down to €399. But hurry! Only while stocks last. You will find us on the Pierce Road, Letterkenny, opposite McDonald's.
Beat the cost of Brexit with no customs charges. Do you need a UK address for your limited company or personal use? Spiz Hub in Derry can provide you with your own mailbox. Have your post and parcels delivered to Spiz Hub and collect at your convenience. There's brand new 20-foot shipping containers now in stock, ideal for all your storage needs at our Springtown and Coolmore depots. Find us on Facebook at spizhubderry.com or call 04871 878077 for more details.
All ready for next year? Why not make sure of it with SEAT? Trade up to a 221 SEAT SUV and you'll be offered PCP finance from 1.9% and a 3-year service plan for just $9.99 a month. With the bold new Arona, the stylish new Ateca, or the outstanding 7-seater Tarraco, we're all ready. Are you? Trade up to your 221 SEAT SUV at DMG Motors, Clare Road, Donegal Town. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland, trading as SEAT Financial Services. Subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Visit seat.ie/221 for further information.
Now, you may be aware that Donegal County Council has erected a number of height restriction barriers at some of the county's most popular beaches. This in a bid to cut down on camper vans overusing the facility, which sounds like they're cutting down on them using them at all. The new height restrictions are at Kinnigar, Shrove and Killahoy. They come into effect today. They'll last until September 15th. It's targeted. It's, there's no ambiguity here. It's quite clearly to keep these camper vans out. George Dummigan is a member of Total Motorhome Ireland. He joins us now. Thanks, George.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm all right. What's your reaction to this? No room at the inn, even if you bring your inn yourself.
Yes, we're a little bit concerned about a trend that seems to be happening, that we're being excluded from some of these places, and it's a little concerning. Sometimes we just like to stop by for a few hours and go for a walk on the beach, like anyone else, and we feel that our motorhome is no different than a car in most ways. As a matter of fact, I think we're probably put less strain on the facilities there because they're usually self-contained. We bring our own water and our own toilet facility, so we don't have to use them.
But what you say makes an awful lot of sense, because one of the attractions, and it's in right across continental Europe as well, is, there's two ways of doing it, isn't there? You have a car and you tow a caravan, or you have a motorhome where it's all combined. So if you're touring in the camper, the motorhome, you're going to be driving to the beaches, driving to the walks. Put up signs saying no overnight staying, enforce that, but to ban you from visiting these places simply because you're driving this type of vehicle, I don't think it's fair. It seems like taking a sledgehammer to crack a nut.
Absolutely. Like I say, the reasoning behind it from the council, a person who was pushing this at the council, is mostly because they say it puts more strain on the facilities, and I don't see that. I see that the average car can carry 5 people. Most motorhomes usually have 2 people in them, or 3 at the most. So we're going to be less strain. So I'm just not quite sure what they're trying to accomplish.
No,
here.
because the language they use, this is the spokesperson say, in recent years, these car parks have become increasingly popular with camper vans and caravans. However, they've limited parking spaces available and run the risk of being overwhelmed when disproportionate numbers of camper vans and caravans spend prolonged periods of time at these locations. Now, obviously, the prolonged period of time might be the key words there, but why? Just because your vehicle's a little bit higher, should you not be able to go and spend an hour or two walking the beach like everybody else? There's no reason. Exactly. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to. A lot of these vans, I think the majority we might see, but they're akin to the size of a transit van. Or maybe they're a little bit higher. But in terms of the car parking width they would take up, they're not much bigger than that.
Exactly. My motorhome, for instance, is a bit larger, and I'm very careful about where I park it if I'm, making sure that I don't block anybody or inconvenience anyone. But like I say, most of the smaller camper vans are absolutely no different than a car. And the thing is that they are designated as a car. Like if we go through a toll road or anything, we pay as a car. We don't pay any different. And I've really, in order to exclude a particular class of vehicle from a parking lot, I think the council would have to make a specific bylaw designating those vehicles as a specific class of vehicle.
And they may have done so. Now, the spokesperson also said that the height barriers at beaches aren't locked, right? Okay, so they're just sitting there. But they can be locked if required. So, from your perspective, you don't know until you get there whether or not you have access. Now, I'm not sure if they're locked in situ and you can go and lift them and rotate them and drive through and close them again, or if they're off to one side. It all sounds very, very confusing, not very welcoming. At least if you knew precisely the situation, you could deal with it.
Yeah, and I think that the council, instead of seeing this as a problem, I think they need to see it as an opportunity. Like Total Motorhome Ireland, we have close to 10,000 members in Ireland and Northern Ireland. And, there's a lot of money to be spent there. So a lot of right now, we're feeling unwelcome in a lot of places. So we're bypassing and spending our money elsewhere.
But you would know that the council is currently offering grants and assistance to people to create parking spaces for camper vans and provide facilities, do you think it's possible, really, that you're being seen as a cash cow? Stop you going where you can go for free so that we can direct you to some of these new places where you can be charged for. I mean, and is that acceptable if that were to be, say, arguably the motivation?
Yeah, and most people in our community have no problem with paying a small fee to park, and it's great. And for instance, a lot of pubs and restaurants now are taking advantage of the situation and allowing the camper vans and campers to park in their parking lot so long as they use the restaurant. And some of them will charge you 10 euro a night to stay over.
You don't mind that.
And then they'll give you 10 euros off your meal if you eat in the restaurant.
All right. Well, that business deserves to be supported because they're thinking outside the box somewhat.
Well, it's a win-win.
Have you travelled elsewhere, George? And if so, how does it compare to our attitude here in Ireland?
Unfortunately, I haven't travelled outside of Ireland yet, but many people have, and yeah, there's a huge difference between here and like France or Spain, where they cater to the tourists in camper vans, and they know that there's money to be made. A little statistic I just saw is down in County Kerry. Let me just a minute until I get my piece of paper ready here. There was a
well, so while you look for that, let me.
An EV car park.
What's that? Say that again.
Well, we were traveling just recently. We went up to Northern Ireland. We went to the motorcycle races up there, and on our way back, we drove up around the coast, and we came to a beautiful spot called Port and an EV car park in Viewpoint. It's right near Valley Castle, near the Kerry Rope Bridge. Beautiful spot. And we were able to pull in there in our motorhome and stop for an hour and enjoy the view. No height barriers, no nothing. And, it wasn't, there was only 2 motorhomes in there, ourselves and someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is the way it should be.
Right. So, in terms of, though, this is a decision the council say they made off the back of a public consultation, which included, caravan and camper van owners, motorhome owners. So, I mean, if this is the will of the people, I would love to see the statistics on, I would love to see, I'm not sure if it's available, but it would be interesting how many people gave out about camper vans and caravans taking up parking spaces at beaches. I think that would be useful if it's not available, for that to be made available, so we know how close to the will of the people this is compared to how, I would personally, as a journalist, would like to see the level of submissions from the public saying that camper vans, motorhomes are a problem in beach car parks. I don't think that's an unreasonable request, is it?
No, I don't think so either. And I understand that it is a problem in certain places, but like I say, it can be controlled. And instead of taking the easy way out,
yeah.
and putting up barriers, it's easier, like to say, to make proper signs for the times that you can stay there.
And I think most of us are law-abiding and respect signs. We always talk about enforcement. I think most of us do. Stay where you are, because Eddie's on board with you. Eddie, good morning.
Good morning, Greg.
Are you a motorhome driver as well, Eddie?
I am indeed, and I'm with George there in the TMI group. But as George says, we have 10,000 members north and south in the country. A lot of money that's exchanged hands for our motorhomes, camper vans, etc. And we contribute an awful lot to society financially, especially during the summer months, but right throughout the year, unlike any other tourist activity. Now, you mentioned there earlier on there, Greg, about barriers not being locked. I think that may have come from an earlier barrier that had been erected at the pier in Dunfanaghy.
Yes.
That it was locked and it prevented, it was put on by a member of the public.
Okay.
And and it prevented emergency services from getting in the event of an emergency, you know.
Yeah.
So whether that would be the reason that they don't have the lock on the barrier, I'm not sure. But barriers, as George says, barriers discriminate, and we feel discriminated.
But Eddie,
against.
is it possible, right, on the Facebook groups or forums or wherever you communicate, that if you said, right, let's just pick Merva Beach, for example. There's a lovely car park at Merva Beach, and, you know, there's no height restriction there, and it's right on the Wild Atlantic Way, a beautiful spot. Is it not possible that others might go, oh, right, that's okay, and next thing you know, you would have 7 or 8 motorhomes or caravans parked in there, and then it starts restricting access for everyone else? I mean, is that what they're trying to avoid? Is that a scenario that actually happens, Eddie?
Yes, I would. I mean, we have to be realistic here. There are people, especially since the pandemic started there, people couldn't go abroad on holidays, and they purchased camper vans, motorhomes, vans, etc. And they're not a member of any group, and they don't know the ethos that we have with us, where we leave everything exactly the way we found it, and in most cases cleaner. Now, that is part of our ethos, as not just TMA, but all motorhome groups.
And would it be fair to say that actually people that are members of your group that you talk of might be actually the first to call out people who are leaving stuff behind them and making a mess?
Absolutely. And the other thing, Greg, is that, you know, I would often go into parks there and see some vans, made-up vans or small camper vans that have been purchased by some individuals, but a very, very small percentage of the overall sector. You're talking about point of a percentage.
Okay.
And they don't understand that you don't take out deck chairs if you go into a car park. They don't understand that you don't use barbecues. They don't understand, you know, just the very, very basic.
Well, let me put it to
now,
both.
my solution,
Yes.
I had been at now myself and another member of TMA was down at the Silver Taxi there last week when the Donegal County Council were, you know, advertising for this grant that you mentioned earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
Now the council says that they said two things, that what they will be doing is putting up signs to say that you can't park here, but there's an alternative place where you can park at.
Mm-hmm. That's
now at least that is something.
Yeah.
But I suggested to them down there on the day that the litter warden is mobile in the county. Now, I don't know whether they have 1, 2 or 3 litter wardens in the county, but surely this small task can be given to the litter warden, where he goes into the car park, he sees where a van or a camper van or whatever is not doing what they should be doing. He approaches them and says, look at the sign. If they have the proper signage up before they put the barriers up,
okay,
the
but
signs are up there.
Yeah, I get you, Eddie, but you know,
let him police that.
Yeah, but we're a massive county. But I take your point. Let me put it to both of you finally, though. You know, there are fantastic facilities in some parts of Donegal, and hopefully we're going to increase on that. So where you can get rid of your wastewater effectively, you have access to fresh water and electricity. That requires an awful lot of investment, maintenance, insurance, and everything. Is it fair for us to say, well, we don't have those type of facilities when many people wouldn't use them because they can go into a beach car park, for example, for free? In other words, you know, is this not really a fair enough compromise that let's increase paid for facilities, but that means we also have to restrict people staying long term in free facilities? What do you think of that, George? Do you understand the balance that has to be struck there?
Well, absolutely. I don't think that, you know, an ordinary parking lot should be used that much for overnight camping, and I would never do that. I'm not interested in spending a night in a car park, but some people might. But there are places where there's plenty of room to do that.
If you want to do a visit during the day before you head off on a journey. Okay, George, listen, thanks for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. Eddie, thank you for your time as well.
Okay.
All right, take care of yourselves. Happy camping. 086 60 25,000. I get all sides of the argument, try to present them there, but listen, I want your views. 086 60 25,000. I can see it from all sides, but I think particularly if you're a motorhome driver, so in other words, it's a converted van or something, you can't really see Ireland if you can't get into the car parks of some of the nicest places, can you? And is that going to discourage people coming from at all? Definitely, if you're drawing a caravan, you can drop that off where you're staying and then tour in your car or Jeep or van or whatever. But if you're a motorhome owner and you're being banned access from beaches, and God forbid you'd have a dog with you as well, is that fair? Is that the right approach? It's like trying to fix one problem, but it's impacting a whole group of other people. Right, okay. And the text coming in, not hugely sympathetic, I think, from what I can see. We'll get to them as we take this break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Better value lives at Dunnes Stores with big savings on your favourite brands this bank holiday weekend. Raise a glass with 20% off wine and champagne, 750ml bottles. And mix and match any 5 for €5 across treats like Fanta Orange 1.75 litre and selected Cadbury multi-packs. Plus, with our 10 off 50 grocery voucher, you save even more, which means every trip to Dunnes Stores means better value. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop with €50 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
At the 4-star Midlands Park Hotel, you have it all. Ireland at your fingertips. By day, explore Ireland's ancient East, a treasure trove of attractions. By night, award-winning dining and world-class hospitality. A destination complete with unrivaled facilities and an on-site spa. Visit midlandsparkhotel.com to find out more.
The Kia Sportage, Donegal's best-selling car for 2022. If you're thinking about making the move to Kia or to upgrade your current Kia, make sure to call in today to iMotors Letterkenny or Malin. With a 7-year warranty as standard, driving a Kia makes sense.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We're joined on the programme now by Aidan O'Connell, who's director of the AOCA Engineering Consultants. Good morning to you, Aidan. Thanks very much for taking the call today.
Good morning to you.
Right, now, you say that the proposed defective block redress scheme is not workable. Why so, Aidan?
Currently, it's not workable, in my opinion, in its current format, but with a small amount of tweaks, I believe it would be. Essentially, the way the scheme is going to work initially, as far as I'm aware, is that submissions will be made into the Power Resolution Board and the Housing Agency, and then the Housing Agency, in conjunction with the Power Resolution Board, will determine which properties are most severely damaged, prioritise them, and then move on to say, okay, you can now proceed to repair the properties. When you're dealing with properties that are very significantly damaged, and let's say that there are two different scenarios, one is mica, one is pyrite. Now, I'm being a little bit simplistic when I say mica only, because currently there's a lot of people saying that there's also a pyrite problem with properties up in Donegal in relation to mica. That has yet to be fully diagnosed or fully determined in terms of extent and how it's going to affect the mica issue in Donegal. And there has been a lot of discussion in relation to research, etc., that is required to do that. But if we take it that there are extremely badly damaged properties, the decision is going to be relatively straightforward for the housing agency. It'll be a demolition largely for the really badly damaged houses, whether they are mica or pyrite. That's fine. And that is relatively straightforward to proceed on it. If you're dealing with a demolition and you're demolishing down to the top of foundation level, it is a planning application. You are talking about new building regulations for the entire property from the foundations up. Some people are saying that you have to include the foundations as well. Well, our practice has dealt with probably in excess of about 2,500 properties and repaired them currently to date. And of those, we have never come across one that actually required any work to the foundations.
Why is that if the foundation is made of the same material, how can homeowners be confident of building on top of that?
I'm not saying it is always of the same material because you have different size aggregate. And essentially what will happen is that if you've got a very weak material like mudstone, for example, when you crush it, it tends to go down into the very fine material. It doesn't really crush into large solid fragments. And therefore, it tends to go into the fine component of a concrete. The concrete mix is a blend of materials like a Christmas cake. So you have got powder, you've got sugar, you've got flour, and you've got larger size materials. But essentially what you have is you've got maybe 25, 30 or 40 Newton concrete in your foundations. It's an extremely strong matrix. It's a very well compacted and vibration material, so you don't have air voids. You don't really have the same mechanism by which moisture and air can get in and cause expansion.
Okay, so then you talked about that's scenario one. Scenario two.
Scenario two is where it then starts getting very difficult. Scenario two is where you are now having a judgment call by an engineer in terms of what I believe it needs to be demolished entirely, or I believe it needs to be demolished partially, or whatever. The housing agency in those circumstances are saying that they are going to determine what is the appropriate resolution, and they are then going to say, right, Mr. Engineer, you can carry out remedial option number one or remedial option number two.
What is the liability for an engineer in that? Because I would be, if I were an engineer, and I don't even understand really anything about it, but I would be, unless I was sure, I'd be reluctant to put my name to it, right? So I think that could be one of the problems that you're identifying here. What is the liability to an engineer? Is it just simply professional, or is there actual illegal liability if they sign off on something that actually turns out to start deteriorating internally as well, if the internal box were retained, for example?
So you've hit the nail on the head. That is the problem. The problem here is that there will be full legal liability, because what is being suggested is that the engineer takes responsibility for the solution that the housing agency will direct the engineer to implement and adopt it as their own solution.
Engineers aren't going to underwrite the government.
No, and that is the issue here. And that's why I'm saying it is currently unworkable when we're dealing with these not so clear resolutions. The ones that are extremely badly damaged, that's straightforward. The ones that are no damage at all, that's straightforward. The ones in between is where the arguments are going to come. And the biggest problem we have is that engineers cannot get professional indemnity insurance to cover themselves for a scenario that the insurance company is going to go, well, we don't know what we're insuring here.
Because the insurance company themselves would have to take on a risk. Why would they try and limit their risk as much as possible? You talked about a couple of tweaks, did you? Could this work? What would it take?
Yeah, it could work, and I think the only way it can work, in my opinion, is that the decision is taken away from other bodies and left singly with the engineer.
Yeah, but the government is fearful that every engineer is going to err on the side of caution and say full demolition.
Then that is how it will end up being.
Yeah. And then, but then the entire thing goes scaled from 3 billion to 5 billion,
and just keep on going. In the current environment, like we've had such huge increases in the build costs that I've already said it and put on record. I'd say that we're looking at 25-30% increase in general build costs already. And when you take that, we're now saying that instead of a partial rebuild, if it goes to a full demolition, that then means you bring in current building regulations, which brings another 38% increase in build costs.
A cynic might say that the inevitable stall of maybe a standoff between engineers and housing officials might play quite well in terms it kicks the ball down the road a little bit. That would be a cynical point of view. I'm sure you wouldn't share that.
No, I look. I'm too long in the tooth too good to become a cynic in this regard, and I've dealt with the housing agency for many years now under the IS 398 scheme, and to be fair, I found them extremely honourable. I've found everybody I've dealt with, be it in the Department of Environment, NSAI, or the housing agency, very straightforward and very honourable. But the difficulty always is, and has always been, what you do with the grey area. So under the 398 scheme, there are properties there that are shown minuscule amounts of damage. And whilst they may have slightly elevated levels of pyrite, the homeowner is saying, oh, we need our house completely remediated, but there is no damage there. And there are properties that are of more urgent need to have that money spent on. And different people, homeowners are extremely subjective, and I understand that. I tend to be a little bit more clinical and objective, and I kind of go, okay, you're not of the urgency phase now at the moment. Let's deal with the more urgent.
Yeah.
And your damage may progress to become so that you move into the more urgent phase.
Yeah, is it an argument though to spend less and fix the less damaged houses at the same time, rather than just presuming it's going to be a big spend for every property?
Yeah, but see, every single house. Okay, there's another discussion here that has been thrown out there, but hasn't actually been brought forward, and it really does need. Like, we need to stop hiding behind sound bites, and politicians come out with sound bites the whole time. You understand that. The sound bites are the most important thing for radio. But if we say here, okay, it was suggested that we were going to pursue the quarries and the suppliers. Well, most of those quarries and suppliers are no longer trading, no longer business, don't have assets, etc. So that's a reality check. We there may be some that are out there that we can pursue, but that means, and because each property is a separate legal entity, you have to make a full judgment call and have full legal proofs that this property required remedials. So when you say, okay, should we spend less money and just do some remedials? Which ones are you going to pick?
Yeah, okay, and of course we don't do class actions in this country. Thank you for the time. It's very important for me to point out, if I didn't already, that AOCA Engineering Consultants has consistently been the biggest consultancy in Ireland dealing with pyrite since 2007 and similar problems. If I were trying to come up with a scheme, it's you guys that I'd be going to for the advice. Thanks for your time this morning, Aidan. Very much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
All right,
take care.
Take care of yourself. All right, okay, that's interesting. And as I say, that's someone from right at the coalface there who understands that better than most. Okay, it is 11 o'clock. You tune to the 9 till noon show. Another hour on the way, but first it's a news update. Good morning, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The angiogram service is to be retained at Letterkenny University Hospital. Concern had been growing over the past number of weeks as the service wants to be withdrawn at the end of this month. A meeting between the Sealta Healthcare Group and members of the Regional Health Forum and Oireachtas members this morning was told that the go-ahead has been given for the angiogram service to be provided by the hospital itself. Gardaí are continuing to appeal for information regarding the whereabouts of a woman missing from Dublin who is known to frequent Donegal. They say they are extremely concerned for the welfare of 50-year-old Clodagh Murphy, who was last seen in the Fox Rocks area of Dublin, 18 yesterday morning. Meanwhile, police believe a woman missing from Derry may also be in Donegal. They say they are growing increasingly concerned for 32-year-old Tony Ann Shea. She is said to have last made contact with family in the Derry area early this morning. The Housing Minister has failed to agree to pre-legislative scrutiny of the defective concrete blocks bill. When asked in the Dáil by Donegal Deputy Pearse Doherty if there would be pre-legislative scrutiny, Minister Darragh O'Brien didn't offer a direct answer, but instead said they are proceeding with the scheme in consultation with homeowners. Nearly 44,000 fewer women were screened for breast cancer last year than in 2019. Just over 127,000 were screened by Breast Check in 2021, compared to nearly 171,000 2 years earlier. A national slowdown day is in effect until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning as Gardaí call on drivers to reduce their speed for the weekend. New research from the Road Safety Authority has found that 3/4 of drivers speed on roads. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Okay, Michaela, thank you very much indeed.
Live, on air, online and on the
I'm all over the place pressing all the wrong buttons. I just want to take an advert back after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102 127.
Sinn Féin treble support amongst farmers. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we publish results of our exclusive survey of over 1,200 farmers. For more, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal a sector-by-sector breakdown of farmers' first preference voting intentions, plus a 15-year trend analysis, fertiliser prices easing on global and local markets, and we've essential advice about the new nitrates rules.
Plus, don't miss our 9-page tractor special with top tips on buying the right tractor for your farm. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal on sale now.
Around the Northwest will be behind bars this Friday as the show comes live from the Lifford Old Courthouse. We'll actually be behind the bar, 2 floors above the cells, which is a lot more comfortable. We're there ahead of the big family fun day on Saturday, when there's an opportunity to explore the cells, try out the stocks, and even have your face painted. So join us live from 2:30 this Friday as we set the scene at Lifford Old Courthouse.
Hi guys, David James here, and we're asking you to push back the kitchen table, dust off your dancing shoes, and join us for our Jive for June campaign, all in aid of the Donegal Hospice. Tune in to the Jive Time show from 2:30 p.m. for your daily Jive. Video your Jive and send it to the Donegal Hospice at gmail.com, and they will post it on their socials, and we will also be posting your Jives on our social media channels too. To register and donate, log on to donegalhospice.ie or contact Isabel on 912565 or 087 238 9607 for a sponsorship form.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments present Rock and Roll Legends Show Waddy Waddy at Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny, Thursday 9th of June. Tickets on sale now from hotel reception, ticketmaster.ie and Joe Gallagher Entertainments. Show Waddy Waddy live at Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny, Thursday 9th of June.
Kickstart your summer with inflation-busting offers at Lidl. Get 3 for just €9 across our massive range of Board B-approved Irish meats. 8 cans of Budweiser now only $13.59. And find an incredible selection of garden furniture during our garden sales event, like a 4-piece lounge set for just $229.99. Lidl, more for you. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
The Saturday Stretch, Week 5, is here. Every Saturday throughout June, visit Oakfield Park, Rufo, from 12 noon until late. This week, there's Tanya McCall live in the Stretch tent, with later running trains, food specials in Buffer's Restaurant, craft beers and wines, and live music from different acts each week. It's the perfect family day out. Normal gate fees apply, no booking required. Season Pass and Gold Pass holders enter free. That's the Saturday Stretch at Oakfield Park.
Sabrina Robb here from Donegal Hearing Clinic. If you're struggling to hear everyday conversations or find it difficult to understand people in a crowded room, you may have hearing loss. Problems like these are common, and we're used to helping people resolve them. We offer hearing assessments and will discuss your options. You can call us on 074 91 88 470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Have you bought your NCBI Radio Bingo book yet? Contribute to this fantastic charity and be in with a chance to win daily cash prizes of €400. Books are now available from your local retailer.
Okay, Paul's going to be joining us very shortly. Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdur Garden Centre with your gardening questions. Get in touch with us. If you want to get one in, 08660 25000, WhatsApp 08660 25000, or call 07491 25000. Right, let's see if I can hear you, Mark. Can I hear? Good morning. Paul, sorry, I beg your pardon.
Yes, hi Greg, how are you?
Good, I can hear you. I'm fantastic, Paul. Paul McLaughlin, as I mentioned, of Ballochdur Garden Centre. Right, Bloom, have you been down to it? Is it
Bloom, I would go
is
to
it
Bloom.
nice?
I would go to Bloom most years up until COVID. I'd say that probably the previous 10 had been to it. It's a brilliant weekend away.
Talk to me, what is it? What happens?
It's just, I suppose it's billed as Ireland's premier garden festival. It's like a sort of mini Chelsea flower show.
Yeah.
But it's great to have obviously show gardens there and stuff, and they have like stalls so you can buy plants and stuff.
And there's food and there's drink, but like, so people create gardens. At what scale do they do it at?
Some of them are quite big now. Probably chatting financially, it could be up to hundreds of thousands of euros.
Wow.
They're all built over the course of the last month, showing for 4 days, then taken apart again. Hopefully some of them will be sold on, if you know them. Some of them just come back into parts. So do. But in terms of flower arranging and stuff, they have massive marquees there with sort of flower arrangements and stuff. But definitely, if you're into gardening now, it is definitely worth a trip.
And obviously, like everything, there's trends. There's trends in planting, there's trends in flowers. I presume that's all on show as well. And whatever wins might dictate the calls that you're getting.
Absolutely. Generally, the show gardens that reflect what sort of is in fashion and they drive the fashion as well, if you know what I mean. So generally, what plants featured bloom, we will see in demand next year. in a
Yeah,
big
right.
way.
It's interesting stuff. You didn't get down this year.
No,
you're not
didn't.
getting down this year.
No, we're just too busy at the minute, so we are, unfortunately.
Yeah, all right. Well, I know there's busloads have headed down already from Donegal, and I presume from every. They're looking at 25,000 a day over the 4 days of it. So
Pretty much. It's actually usually the Sunday and the bank holiday Monday there'd be huge crowds altogether.
For
So
some-
if you were going, probably the Thursday and Friday would be the better days to go because it's a wee bit quieter.
Yeah, for some people, flowers are Gareth Brooks or Ed Sheeran.
Very much so. So they are.
Right, all right. What's the story with our loans now? Because this covers probably a lot of what people are listening to. If you're lucky enough to have a wee bit of space around your property, the loans, I mean, you could be cutting them every day, it feels sometimes at this stage, depending on where you are. What's the situation? What are we seeing at the moment?
Very much. At the minute, the lawns theoretically should be growing flat out at the minute, but their growth has been sort of patchy at the minute because it's been quite cold. So it has.
Yeah, because it was 4, 5, 6 degrees overnight.
Yeah, pretty much. Growth isn't where it should be, but I'd say if it comes good now, as the forecast was good for over the weekend, but now should be prime time for it growing. So, and if it actually comes dry in the next wee while, it's a good idea to lift the blades of your lawnmowers a few clicks, just to actually not put too much stress in the lawn, be cutting it too short.
Is that where you might see sort of whitey, yellowy patches if you're just going too aggressive at it?
Pretty much. A lot of people sort of go aggressive. Some people are not big fans of cutting the lawn, and generally they cut it very low to make it last longer, basically. So that's a good idea to keep it up, but just put a wee bit less stress on the grass.
All right. And in terms of fertilising, is this a good time of the year to do that?
Fertilising, now is perfect time to put on fertiliser. Actually, a lot of people would have done sort of spring treatments with the feed weed and moss killer earlier, but if you want to actually just green up the lawn a bit, a wee bit of sort of spring summer fertiliser now would be perfect.
Is that expensive at the moment?
Yes.
Hard to get?
Hard to get and expensive. Generally, it's about 100% up on what it was last year.
Right.
So it is, and that seems to be across the board.
Okay.
So it is in terms of fertilisers.
Right, okay, but still, if you want results, you're going to have to dig deep for them. That's just the bottom line. There's no alternative. Is there any sort of cheaper alternatives?
Once again, you can use seaweed, stuff like that on it. Seaweed is it is an element within it. It's called mannitol, I think you call it, which actually unlocks the sort of fertiliser that's already in the ground. So it can be quite good. But generally, seaweed you get away with for 1 year. After that, you probably end up having to go back to the nitrogen-based stuff.
And does the seaweed, I mean, does it go on in seaweed form, or is it grounded down to a powder, or what way does that work?
You get it in many forms now. Generally, you can actually buy it in liquid form. That's actually made in Dunlow down here in Donegal, so it's a good local product.
Okay, because, you know, if I'd have not asked you that, it would have just ended up like there was a high tide at my house.
Yes. But funny, we'd actually do that quite often for people with raised beds and stuff.
Yeah.
What people would do actually is go down and say September, October, harvest seaweed just in its
Yeah,
raw
and
form.
it's less noticeable, obviously, in that environment.
Pretty much,
Okay.
and just lay it on top of the bed and you can actually just leave it over the winter, then chop it in.
All right, Paul, let's get to some questions here. We'll talk about watering and stuff as we wear on. What is a good fast-growing hedge for a windy site?
Pretty much our most popular hedge down there before would be Gristlinia, which is it's an evergreen hedge, sort of limey green leaf, and the stems on it are quite flexible, so on a windy site they tend to flex with the wind as opposed to standing up to it.
Okay. I have sweet pea grown from seed, and I planted out 5 and they got 8 at base. What's attacking my sweet peas?
The sweet pea, chances are slugs. I would have thought it'd be my number one suspect. This year has been actually, because it's been a mild winter, and that seems to be a huge amount of aphids about, like green fly and white fly seem to be doing a huge bit. So if you look at the underside of whatever leaves is left, pretty much you'd see any signs of green fly or that.
Right.
Otherwise, I would suspect slugs.
Okay, so this listener, I suspect a little bit like a lot of us, has pulled out the pots, right? They've taken the old plants out and they're sitting there full with compost from last year. They want to know, can they reuse that compost? Can you just maybe give it a squirt of chicken poo or tomato food and plant into it?
Yeah, sorry, that pretty much would depend on the size of the pot. A lot of the time, you're putting in your flowers and you want to get the best out of them, so you need a fair bit of nutrition there. You could sort of rejuvenate the old stuff, but ideally what you're doing in a fair-sized pot would be actually remove half of it.
Yeah.
And as you remove it, once again, and get back to your slugs, check it for like slug and snail eggs and stuff like that.
Because it is enriched with nutrients, presumably, and the flowers eat that, and they draw that food source from it, so you end up with, you know, what might look the same but doesn't contain the same.
Pretty much. And on a big pot, it's not practical to do it at all. The compost will renew it all every year. So if you do half every year,
what could be eating my sunflower plants?
Once again, probably either your aphids or your slugs.
What's an aphid again?
An aphid's the green fly or the white fly.
Right. Now, this caller says the sunflower plants, some of them are completely eaten down to the stem. It's the first year this has happened.
Yes. Once again, I'd say your mild winter is probably the root cause of all that. because the eggs and stuff didn't get killed off with the natural frost it should have been.
Mm.
But sort of just keep an eye on it, and you get organic slug pellets and stuff like that now, so you can actually put them around it, and should help. If you do that once or twice, it should sort of dwindle the population.
Discourage them, yeah, okay. Right, I can't seem to keep any indoor cactus alive. Should the soil be dry because they're desert plants? Do you have any tips on this? Now, I would have thought if you aren't really green-fingered, the thing you kind of go towards is a cactus.
Yeah. Pretty much, cactus should be very easily grown, so they should. They are desert plants, so they do like it dry, so they do. And funny, some people think about that. Get round. What can happen when indoor plants is irregular watering, is like you sort of forget about them for 2-3 weeks,
and then flood them,
and then pretty much you remember twice in 2 days, and sort of flood them, if you know what I mean. So a good test of that is actually to use your fingernail. If you dip your fingernail into the soil at the top of the pot, generally a plant, if it's still dry down to the depth of your fingernail, it needs water. But cactuses would be tend to sort of go a wee bit less.
Yeah, so how often would you water a cacti? It depends on the humidity in your house, of course, and stuff like that. But is there a rule of thumb?
Even time of year, probably if you get into the habit of checking every couple of weeks,
yeah,
I would say. But generally, probably 3 to 4 weeks.
Because the top will dry out anyway because of the environment of the house. That's why you're digging in a little bit to find out what's happening in the soil.
Yeah, and sometimes actually if they're too close to like a north-facing window as well, it can be chill gets them.
Yeah, all right. Okay. You don't want chilly cacti. Trying to grow an evergreen hedging around my garden, and I'm doing it from clippings. What's the best method to go about this?
Generally clippings, a lot of people do it just by putting, obviously depends on the type of hedge that you're growing, but a lot of people, what you'll do is sort of August, September time, is take loads of clippings and put them into pots, and actually put them, you can make like if you Google it even, you can make like a makeshift sort of greenhouse.
You want to see their taking first before you commit to them, yeah?
Yeah. And the other thing about it is taking cuttings like that, it's sort of it's an inexact science. And what you want to do, if you say you want to get 50 plants, will be put in 150.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to get 100%.
Right. Okay.
So just by sheer volume of numbers. And if you're clipping the hedge, you're getting the cuttings for free anyway, so you might as well do plenty.
All right. I've seen videos online where potted plants are sat in a basin of water and watered this way. You leave them until the plant has stopped sucking up the water. Ever heard tell of that? Is it beneficial?
Yes, it would be quite beneficial, all right.
If you're going on holidays, I think, or away for a week, sounds
pretty
like.
much leaving them permanently in a dish of water is probably not good in terms of take up too much water and can actually rot the roots a bit.
Right.
So what you would do is generally, if you have a saucer or someone, set it into it for about 20 minutes. That should be enough time for
Okay, so it's not a long-term watering solution.
No. And if you're going away for the thing, a lot of people, what people would do is to make sort of a wick, is like get a few bath towels and throw them in the bath.
Yeah.
Actually wet them, use them like a wick and set your plants on top of it.
Yeah.
And they'll
So
dry
it
up
regulates the water intake to some extent, but it doesn't stop it. I've never gardened before, and I want to put up hanging baskets at the front door. Which do you recommend for first-timers, and can they stay out in heavy rain?
Yes, probably the easiest plant for hanging baskets would be the petunias or nasturtiums, either of which would be very easy sort of maintained. Pretty much all you have to do with them is just water. Once you water regularly, they'll actually fly on. So they will.
Exactly. And people should. It is easy. I mean, it's not complicated. You know, plants are like weeds. They're in the same family. If they're fed and they're in, you know, a decent environment, they'll grow and they'll keep growing all summer for you.
Absolutely.
And you'll get great results really quick.
If you do nothing else and just keep up in the water, you're pretty much guaranteed results.
And another thing I've noticed too, if you go into a garden centre like yours or others, the people there can't help you enough.
Yes, absolutely. No, they're what good.
You know, we can be a bit shy to ask, but once you ask, they go, well, where is it? What do you want? What colours do you like? And next thing you know, they're you know.
Yeah, no, like I say, people in garden centres tend to be fairly passionate about their plants, so they are only too happy to help.
Skimmia in pots. Do I use It's almost like this is...
Ericaceous?
Well, on you. I was going to try it myself. Don't
very
spoil
sorry.
it. I'm going to try it again. Please ask Paul, planting skimmia in pots, do I use ericaceous compost?
Ericaceous compost.
Did it do all right?
Yes, perfect. So ericaceous compost, yes, they would benefit probably from ericaceous compost. All right, that's the lime-free stuff.
Yeah, all right. We get, you know yourself, all the time we get questions on roses. So what should or shouldn't we be doing it this time of year?
Roses, pretty much, ideally by now you would have fed them. They're just sort of starting to come into bloom now. So they are. So generally, good feed at the start of the year with granular sort of fertiliser. Keep an eye on them for the extra green fly of that, because roses, green fly just love them. So they do.
Right.
And then just keep a wee eye as well. You get black spot, tends to come on them at this time of year. A day like today, sort of a mildish, damp day.
Yeah.
Ideal time for black spot.
Right, okay. What can you do about that though?
Generally you get sprayed. There are a few sort of more organic methods you can use, but generally the big thing is if your rose is well fed and a healthy plant, it's able to fight off attacks better than.
Well, you wouldn't be in favour of, because obviously they're beautiful, different colours, beautiful smells. Is there any advantage to spraying them, routinely as a deterrent to the likes of black spot?
Yeah, like a lot of those rose growers would actually spray every 10 days regardless. So they would.
Yeah.
Generally, with the thing that's a fungal treatment is going to help to keep away the black spot. So generally, if you get into a routine of that, it probably is. If you want sort of show specimen roses, that'd be the way to go.
And another enemy of the rose is the green fly. Is there
yes,
anything?
The green fly, they just love them.
Yeah. What can you do? Rather than give them a banquet.
There are a few things there. One would be to actually spray them just water and fairy liquid.
Yeah.
Would actually help to jet them off that way.
Okay, brilliant stuff. Listen, Paul, thanks as always.
Grant, thank you
I
very
really
much,
appreciate it, and thank you to everyone who texted in with questions. Any we didn't get to, we'll carry over. Paul will be back with us in a couple of weeks. That's Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdur Garden Centre, just down the road from us here at the Mountaintop in Letterkenny, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's the job.
Okay, great to have you in.
Great.
Thanks
Thank
very
you very
much,
much,
Paul. We have some live music coming up for you before 12, don't you know?
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local, trustworthy service of your credit union.
Ihe an déanóibh a bhí ann dé danig an tríú Abron, agus gan na chóirithirí críocna ag bailú firmacha déanóibh. Ní mór gach firm a cheola arás. Mar sin, mar bhfuil déir an bailithe ledathol, sair fust an isé, chuig an seola ar thaobh na firma. Tá breis eolas le fáil ar census.ie. Bís an áireamh.
Come along to a great night of song and dance with Evelyn and friends this Saturday the 4th in the Clanree Hotel in aid of the Donegal branch of the Alzheimer's Society. Music by the Percy Robinson Band, and special guests include Hugh McLean, the Envoys Show Band, Malcolm Fisher and Amy Meehan. Also Anne Biddy, Hilary Ann Hetherington, Eddie Gallagher, the Country Kickers Line Dancers and compere Tommy Rosney. That's from 9 this Saturday night in the Clanree Hotel, Letterkenny. Tickets from hotel reception, Clark's News Agents or pay at the door.
Your mental health is important, and now it's easier than ever to find the supports and services closest to you. You can free phone the Your Mental Health information line at 1800 111 888 anytime. Our team will tell you which supports and services are near you, where they are located, and how you can access them. You can also visit yourmentalhealth.ie for more information on mental health, for you or for people you know. Yourmentalhealth.ie, from the HSE.
Come along to the big family fun day this Saturday the 4th at Lifford Old Courthouse. Explore the cells, try out the stocks and meet your favourite characters. With clowns, storytellers, face painting and much more, admission is free and everyone's welcome from 12 to 2. Or enjoy the great afternoon tea with sandwiches and treats for €15 per person in the comfort of the Grand Courthouse. To book afternoon tea, call Lifford Old Courthouse on 9141733.
Getting value on your shopping has never been more important. That's why at Super Value we have great offers like save 33% in our Irish steak sale. Selected goodies like Fanta and Nestle Aero, any 4 for €4. And get new weekly money off vouchers on the Real Rewards app. For low prices that compete with anyone, it's got to be Super Value.
Okay, Karen Kelly and Simon McCafferty collectively are Without Willow, and they join us in the studio now. Karen, good morning to you first.
Hello.
How are you keeping?
Not too bad.
Fantastic. What about you, Simon?
Grand, alive and kicking.
Good stuff. Listen, you're very exciting. Heading off on tour next month.
Yep.
What's going on there? Where are you going? What are you doing?
We're going to Ottawa in Canada. We're playing a few shows. We're playing the Almont Celt Fest, and then we're playing Redbird Live and a wee winery, and we're doing a wee songwriting workshop, and we're over there, so we have a few things lined up.
Is it exciting or nerve-wracking or a mix or what?
Yes, both.
Yeah. Because been out of, obviously for obvious reasons, we've had a bit of time back now, but been out of the groove a wee bit. We've all changed a little bit. It's not just about artistically; it's about our attitudes to everything and stuff.
True. Plus the queues in Dublin Airport's not helping. Either, so.
Well, hopefully they'll get it sorted by July, or we're completely banjaxed altogether. And are you out sort of meeting a new audience in Ottawa, Simon, or do you have a fan base there already, or what's the story?
Hopefully, we have some people. Oh, we do have a few Canadian fans. Yeah. Actually, one of the messages saying we'll be there. At the festival. So that's cool. We've never met these people, but it's class that we can.
That's through social media, presumably. So those connections have been built up. Anywhere else? Is it going anywhere else, or just focusing on Canada for now?
Canada, with a few local shows lined up too. We'll be playing actually for the Bringing It Home Festival in Dunfanaghy on the 24th of June before we go. So that'll be in the Oyster, and then when we come back, we'll be headlining Club Yaw on the 19th of August. So a few things lined up.
Very good, very good. And what in terms of songwriting and stuff? You know, I mean, I presume you did a lot of that through lockdown, work together. Were they any good? Because I often think, you know, so I don't mean this badly, but, you know, when you're trapped inside and you're writing stuff, and then obviously we're back out again, if you reflect on it and go, what was going through our heads when we were writing that? Or are you happy with your output?
To be fair, like our songs were sad before, but oh my God.
It's different level stuff now altogether.
It's another level. We've had both, you know, we're kind of... You know, it was nice to have the time as well to write.
I think at the start though, when lockdown kind of had it, I think every musician was in the same way. It was just like, oh, now we have all this time to write music. And then when it came to it, we were just like, God, we can't think of anything. So it didn't happen
because you
right
can't
away,
just
like,
pull it out of the air, can you? I mean, it has to be, I presume you have to be in a space to sort of, you know, good or bad or whatever it might have been.
That's the way I find.
I feel like you're putting so much pressure on that first time that you're just like, oh, we have all this time, we have to write.
And when you're the busiest, that's probably when the ideas come flying in. And you have to take your notes, but you have the least time to you've got all the
momentum.
I don't know how long the flight is to Canada, but sure you can bang out a couple.
It's long. It's long.
bang a couple of songs on the plane. In terms of releasing music, what's the situation there?
Yeah, so we just released a single there on Friday called Nightingale. So that's actually available now everywhere. Spotify, Amazon, everywhere online.
Preferably if you can buy it.
Ideally, if you want to buy it, that'd be great. But
Spotify is great for getting. We talked earlier on about reaching fans all over the place between that and them being able to interact and feedback with you. And of course, there's I presume, like other parts of Canada, there's probably a decent Irish community over there as well. It would be a real treat for them to see a couple of guys from Donegal landing over.
Yeah, well, the festival we're playing at is kind of a Celtic festival anyway, so it'll be nice. Yeah,
good stuff. Right, so are you gonna perform for us now? What are you going to do? The new singles?
We'll do the new single, yeah.
Okay, so this is Nightingale. Right, okay. And it'll be heard in Leo's Tavern in August and in Ottawa in July. But live for you now here on the 9 till Noon show. Here's Karen Kelly, Simon McCafferty, collectively Without Willow.
Sat on a branch down by the meadow, waiting for my love to appear. Caught in a trap and forced into shadow when you took me away from her. If you loved me, you'd let me go. My fragile heart wants to go home. I will die here before I ever sing a note. If you loved me, you'd let me go. Sat on display each day like the other. No escape from my jail. No wind or stars. What I miss most by far is my sweet nightingale. If you loved me, you'd let me go. My fragile heart wants to go home. I will die here before I ever sing a note. If you loved me, you'd let me go. If you loved me, you'd let me go. My fragile heart wants to go home. I will die here before I ever sing a note. If you loved me, you'd let me go. You'd let me go. You'd let me go. You'd let me go.
All right, that's lovely. Nightingale from Karen Kelly and Simon McCafferty, which begs the question, because I think is one of the most well-known groups in Donegal. What's taken 4 years to get a song out since your last single? It's 4 years, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, just life, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, just with lockdown out there, we didn't get to. Well, we weren't able to meet up for like a long time.
Yeah,
Just didn't get around to it. I like it. That's the right answer. That's literally my answer to everything. I just didn't get around to it. So it's quite refreshing to hear. Do you actually write songs together? Is that possible? Can two people write a song at the same time?
Yeah, we have done that. We've sat down at the table and Simon will have a guitar idea and I'll just kind of start writing a melody and vocals over it. That's how we do a lot of our.
And then you say, well, that would sound good in there and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, right, brilliant, I suppose. Yeah, it works well. Are you just doing the one, or are you doing another one for us? Can you do another one? Yeah, that'd be fantastic. As I say, just for you tuning in, we are in the company of Without Willow, Karen and Simon. That was their brand new song, Nightingale, the first single released since 2018. And it's released ahead of a mini tour of Ottawa in July. Karen's also going to be running songwriting workshops over there, which will be of huge benefit if you've just listened to what they've put together. And locally in August in Leo's Tavern. All right, what are we going to hear next, do you think?
So this is another new one called As Autumn Falls.
Lovely. Okay, whenever you're ready.
As autumn falls in through my window, I think of you, wonder where you are. The trees have changed since I last saw you. My nights grow long without you here. I'm standing on the corner of your street, cobblestone and suitcase at your feet. I'm holding on for one last kiss goodbye, hoping you might stay and change your mind. I stroll the wood that we once walked through. Gold leaves with ease fall to the ground. I wish that I could let go that easy and trust it all works out somehow. I'm standing on the corner of your street, cobblestone and suitcase at your feet. I'm holding on for one last kiss goodbye, hoping you might stay and change your mind. Standing on the corner of your street, cobblestone and suitcase at your feet. I'm holding off for one last kiss goodbye, hoping you might stay and change your mind.
All right, Without Willow there. Their new single is available for you now on all the usual platforms, and you can go and hear the studio version of that, which was engineered by Ori McBurty and featured the talents of cello player Laura McFadden. Listen, thank you both very much. Safe journeys and huge success for the future as always. What do you sing in the shower, out of interest? Because obviously the music you hear, a lot of you, yeah, of course you do. A lot of your own music is, you know, it's haunting and melodic and that kind of stuff. Would you sing it in the shower?
I would sing like lots of like the big 80s hits in the shower.
Yeah, it's like girls just want to have fun or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, all right, okay. What about you, Simon? What do you sing in the shower?
I actually don't. I just get in out and just
We're in like that, out. Watch 3 bits and away we go. Listen, listen, both of you, thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate it. That's Without Willow there. Back with more on the programme after the break. Stay where you are.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Welcome back to Checkout Line, where the new Lidl beef campaign is causing a bit of a stir. You were saying there, Cheese.
Well, Brad, Beef says he's got all these blasting here and awards. But we've all won awards, like. There's no need to go on about it.
Yeah. Strawberry.
He says he's quite fresh, like, but I'm a Lidl strawberry. Like, come on.
Turnip, what did you have to say?
Come in with an award over there, and I come and then over here with a ball, and I don't even get it out in the morning.
Yeah, you're joking me. He did what?
Everyone loves Lidl beef. Well, almost everyone. Lidl. More for you.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'd be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'd be them. 07491 43942.
Treat your garden to a makeover at GMG Stone Letterkenny. We offer great value on decorative stone, garden paving, slabs and artificial grass. All tailored to your needs with home delivery available. We also supply railway sleepers, whiskey barrels and place sand. All available for pickup or delivery. Open Monday to Saturday from 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. You will find us beside Donaghy Motorhomes on the Port Road. For an appointment, call 087 647 9121. GMG Stone, just what your garden needs.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
Okay, so you might remember earlier in this week we were contacted by a lady who I believe she felt she may have been exposed to chickenpox and she was in the early stages of pregnancy, about 12 weeks, and went to the hospital, was directed to the hospital, and had to spend an awful lot of time sitting in the ED. And she said that this was nerve-wracking for her because she was going in to make sure she didn't have chickenpox, but there were people getting sick with diarrhea and all the usual ailments you might see in an emergency department. And she thought that and it may have been the case in the past, that she'd be brought in through the front door. There'd be a separate seating area. They're not going to be inundated with pregnant women, of course. A separate seating area before she could go in to gynae. And not surprisingly, but I wasn't necessarily expecting it, quite a few people then contacted us afterwards to talk of similar situations. Now, of course, when we're talking about health, it's kind of sensitive. So, Caroline, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Fine. And as much as you're comfortable in explaining the situation and what happened, that's up to you. But we know that someone close to you ended up having to go to hospital. So pick it up from there as much as you want to say, Caroline.
Yeah, well, my good friend, she went to hospital 8 weeks and she was sleeping in a miscarriage, and she had to sit in A&E for 4 hours while she was going through this, and that's a very personal journey to go through, and a very traumatizing journey to go through. And I couldn't understand it, because whenever I was having my children, now my eldest is 25 and my youngest 8, if anything like that was to happen to me or any of my friends, we just went to the doctor and directly to gynae, and the ladies was very private and very personal there, and gave us the treatment that, with empathy and care and kindness and very gentle. But when you're sitting in an A&E department with, God knows, maybe 20 or 30 people around you, you're always sure to meet somebody and they're saying, "Oh, what's wrong with you? What are you in for?" You don't want to be discussing
and it's not about no disrespect to someone with a broken ankle. There's an awful lot of emotional stuff potentially going on. What I find confusing about this, Caroline, is because ourselves during lockdown, for similar reasons, had to go to the hospital and went in through the front door. Now, obviously, I wasn't allowed in. It wasn't through the ED. So how recently is this changed?
Oh, see, I don't know, and that's what I'm hoping that you will find out for me, because so then my friend went on then at 12 weeks, and she actually did suffer a loss, and it was, but she still had to go then to A&E again, even though she was talking to her doctor and talking to gynae. She still had to go through this protocol of being triaged in A&E. Now, we're going backwards with all our health up there in Letterkenny, because of 25 years ago, I could have went straight to gynae from my doctor, and now you have to go through A&E. It's so inhumane.
Now, in relation to the second experience, was it a long wait in ED as well at that time?
3 hours that time, and she was actually she was there in the toilet.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I was going to say
her baby, and I'm sorry. That's why we shouldn't be saying this over air, but that is.
Well, you know what? We can't hide from it. Yeah.
The indignity of it all in this day and age, and my heart broke for her, because she didn't have the privacy of her own wee room where when you go to gynae, if something like that happens, you get your private wee room. The nurses is talking to you. They're just so good at what they do up there, and they're giving you all the empathy that you need and privacy. Look, privacy is the main thing, and her partner wasn't even in with her until she went up to gynae. It's crazy.
I mean, so this is, she's not, at that point, she's not in a pre-care situation where you're sitting waiting for care. That is in any situation where people understand the human side of things and the practicalities of what she was going through and what she has to deal with and manage, right? Not just mentally, but physically.
Yeah.
That should be, right, you're in, and we have a specific department for that. You shouldn't be sitting there while the process is happening, waiting for that care. We can't lose our empathy and our care.
No, we definitely can't. A very sensitive situation like that, and you're going through trauma, and it's not just you going through the trauma, and you need your care system, your partner there with you to hold your hand and tell you, look, I'm here with you. It's very important, for women to know that they're being heard and being listened to, but you can't get that there when you're sitting in an open room with 20 or 30 other people that has broken limbs or like vomiting bug and stuff like that there, and you're thinking to yourself, please just get me to a private room. And why has this changed? Why now can we not just go back to that? Maybe it was because of COVID, I don't know, but I mean, could we not just go back to going to the doctor and the doctor sending us directly to the gynae?
Well, do you know what's going to happen, Caroline, is, and if it's not all happening already, people are going to stay at home. They're going to say, I am not doing this. I know what's happening, whether they're 100% right or not. You know yourself.
Yeah.
I am not going to do this publicly.
Yeah. But then you have to think that they have to get checked.
No, I know. Yes, of course. I know. But my point is unfortunately, someone might make that decision because of this is the way they would be treated. And that's what worries me. They shouldn't. They have to get in there and get seen straight away, because everything isn't always as it seems.
No,
but I'm just worried that people will go, I cannot physically go in there and go through this process, not under the care of the hospital and in public.
Yeah, and it is a very heartbreaking thing to experience, and it's very traumatising, but this is adding insult to injury by making ladies that is threatening to miscarry or, the likes, to go through A&E. That is just so, there's no dignity in it at all.
People are, as far as I understand the way emergency departments work, is they will decide who needs to be seen first, right? And I get that. So someone has to make a decision that a woman clearly having a miscarriage is down the line, 3 or 4 hours down the line.
Yeah.
I would have thought that this is one of those medical emergencies that is dealt with compassion and through the front door.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, which it was. It used to be like that all the time. As I say, we don't need to be going backwards. We have to keep going forward all the time and improving our maternity services. I did contact Transforming Birth Donegal. They have now sent emails to the Minister for Health, and I have contacted Thomas Pringle's office, and he has sent emails to the hospital to find out why is this happening and why ladies in this position have to sit for 3 and 4 hours or even more. There was a thread on the Letterkenny Babies, and oh my God, about this here, and the amount of ladies that commented and said, yes, I had to go through an A and this happened to me and that, and I was sitting there thinking, this is very traumatising for me to read, never mind for them ladies to go through, and it's heartbreaking. Like, in this day and age, I don't want my girls, I have 3 girls and one of them is 22, I don't want her to ever have to experience a loss, but if she does, I want her to.
I mean, can you imagine sitting there for 2 hours and you feel, for obvious reasons, that you need to use a bathroom?
Yeah.
And you've got other people in there maybe with, vomiting and diarrhea.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get into that bathroom.
Yeah.
And you're in this.
It's not very sanitary, never mind anything else.
Of course, but you're in this public space.
Yeah.
This is happening to you, and there are other people, and you're thinking, I know they're trying to get in. How long can I stay in here? Just even in that moment.
Yeah.
How that must feel.
Oh.
Now, we got a response from the HSE, and I'm really disappointed by it, to be honest with you, because firstly, they're hiding behind GDPR, and secondly, they're effectively saying, sorry, this happened, you can make a complaint. That, to me, is an extension of the impassionate, or I don't know if that's the right word, but the impassionate treatment of this person, because not only is what she went through, that was bad enough, but now they're saying, you can make a complaint if she likes. We're not commenting on it.
That's ridiculous. That's just...
And if she doesn't like the answer to the complaint, she can go to the Ombudsman. Where is the heart there? Where is the humanity in any of this? Either in the initial treatment or in that response. Sorry for the negative experience. Make a complaint.
Yeah.
Have your say. If you don't like our answer, you can take it up with the Ombudsman. I mean, is that where we're at now?
Yeah, well, that's ridiculous, to be honest with you. It's a really pathetic answer. But this lady did make a complaint, so she did, and then she was talking to a member of staff, and she said to the member, why did I have to do this here? Why did I go through this? And the member of staff said, well, it's just because a senior member of staff thought during COVID that was the right thing to do, because you were triaged and you were swabbed and you were all that there, and to stop infection. But, everything else has gone back mostly to normal. I don't know why you can't just go to your doctor, to your gynae department, and that's it.
This is not a complaint.
There's enough people sitting in A&E for other things without ladies that's miscarrying sitting there too.
Yeah. This is this also the response. Okay, this is not. It's as if we're complaining about how long someone had to wait in A&E. That's not the issue here. Is not the length of wait, though that compounds the situation. This is women that are clearly miscarriaging, maybe have a GP referral, but you know yourself and you head straight to the hospital. That's what the plan is with that. And you believe you go in the front door and you prepare yourself for every outcome.
Yeah.
I don't ever associate, if someone is having a suspected miscarriage or is evidently having a miscarriage, that is a sit and wait in ED medical condition. So make a complaint. They might say, well, we apologise for your long delay. This should be about what is the policy here. That's the conversation here. Not sorry for your inconvenience. This is what is your policy. We can't continue to have these women and their families and partners, and it's an incredibly stressful time for partners as well, have a situation whereby it's treated similarly to a broken finger.
Yeah. As a bereavement, at the end of the day, sadly, a lot of them are being bereaved. Like, it's not been treated the way it should be treated. Where is the empathy here? It's inhumane. There's no dignity in it at all.
And what is the cut-off? Is there a different treatment for 4 weeks, for 8 weeks, for 12 weeks? What happens at 16 weeks?
I know if you're over 16 weeks, if you're over 16 weeks, you go to the maternity then department.
But explain that to us. Let us understand that. What is the thought process behind that? Is it that, well, sure, it's only 12 weeks? I'm not trying to upset anyone, okay? And I'm not trying to throw fuel on the fire. But we need to understand what's the cut-off definition. Has things changed since maybe Ireland's attitude to things have changed? I don't know, but we need answers. All right.
We do. Thank you, Greg.
All right, Caroline, and my best wishes to your friend.
Yeah, thanks. So
okay,
much.
Genuinely. All right, okay, thank you for that. Listen, what's your views on it? Are we overstating it here? 086 60 25,000 WhatsApp and text to that number.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
A lot of the best things in life have been a little out of reach for a while.
Like those belly-clutching back-of-the-bus laughs.
Or having the chats with their mates as you're getting ready to go out.
We've all missed loads of things, but luckily, most of them are making a comeback. And so are we at Feroiga Clubs. Join thousands of adult volunteers who make Feroiga Clubs a community where young people can become who they want to be by giving them a space where they belong. Become a volunteer today at feroiga.ie.
Okay, open wide there. Perfect. Let's have a look at these teeth.
A range of treatment benefits are available to employed, self-employed and retired people who have the required number of PRSI contributions. Some benefits are free, like eye tests and dental checkups, while for others you receive a contribution towards the treatment, such as for hearing aids or wigs. And now, if you are 25 to 28 years old, the number of contributions you need has been reduced. Find out more at gov.ie/treatment benefit. The Treatment Benefit Scheme. It's there for your benefit. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
Okay, I meant to mention actually as we were wrapping things up with Without Willow, if you're out there, a musician out there, you're creating or releasing new music, get in touch with us. We have a number of slots over the course of the year. We'll try and see what we can do now that we can have live music back in studio again, thankfully. So if you are a musician or a band out there, and don't prejudge what we play on Highland and it means it wouldn't fit in, get in touch with us and we'll see if we can work with you to give you the platform, which is not insignificant, I hope. It's the overnight staying of camper vans staying. It's free parking. I kind of put that point to that listener. I'm going to run through some of your comments on different subjects here. Greg, in January this year, there was a tiny wee piece on the bottom of RTE's website reporting that domestic violence against men had risen 32% in the previous year. I didn't hear it reported anywhere else. Can you imagine if it had been a huge rise in violence against women, what the outcry would have been? Hopefully this Johnny Depp case will encourage more male victims to come forward. That comes in from Noel. Yes, indeed, Noel. But I'll tell you what I don't want to be involved in is versus. Women versus men. Men get. We need to stamp all of that stuff out. Now, the 32% increase in violence against men would be coming from a very low base. It happens. Men should report it, and they should be backed up in doing so. Okay, but the reality is the overwhelming majority of domestic violence victims are women. But that does not mean we have to sort of compete one with the other. I don't know where we get on with that. Right, Pat O'Toole's political correspondent with the Irish Farmers Journal. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning.
We had Minister Charlie McConalogue earlier on. I put through the findings of your poll on farmers' sentiment towards him. It was a mixed bag. There was some good in there, some bad. And also you polled people on their support for political parties. What were your highlights that jumped out from you, Pat, on it?
I suppose it's the rise of Sinn Féin. They previously had polled no higher than 6% in a succession of polls over the last 15 years, and that would have been in 2018. They reached 6%. Now they're on 16%. It's a significant increase. I suppose it matches the rate of increase they're having in in national opinion polls in the general population, but at a lower rate. So when Sinn Féin were at 10 to 12% in the general population, they were at 5 to 6%, half that level of support among farmers. Now they're polling in the mid-30s, and they're at half that in the farming population. So they're still trending that farmers' vote patterns are changing more conservatively. They're changing more slowly, but they are changing. And the impact of Sinn Féin's emergence as a third force in electoral politics is now manifest in the farmer vote as well, as of course are the rural independents at 20%. Rural independence or independence in rural constituencies are a very significant force in Irish politics, although not in government. But there's 23 independents. You could say that 17 of them are identifiably rural independents who push very strongly on rural issues. Whenever something like turf comes up, or rural transport, or farming supports, those people will come to the fore, and their level of support is high and steady.
Yeah, and interestingly, I think in fairness, one of the first people to come out to counteract what Eamon Ryan was saying was Leo Varadkar, and he obviously was speaking to farmers. I was not aware that really Fine Gael seems to be, although they've dropped somewhat, the party for the farming community.
Yeah, so traditionally, and in page 16 in the third page of our analysis, we look at a poll of polls going back to 2007. Traditionally, and was picked up in those early polls, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael would have split the farming vote between them, polling in the low 40s, sharing that vote equally. Fianna Fáil's vote collapsed after the economy collapsed, and some hard decisions had to be made around farming and around the general economy. It collapsed to down in the low 20s, and they've been stuck there ever since. Fine Gael, on the other hand, surged up to over 60%, and then it's only in, in this recent poll that we've seen their level of support has fallen very sharply down from the mid-40s to 37%.
But if you combine them, 6 out of 10 farmers still, are in favour of the government parties. Less than 50% are dissatisfied with Charlie McConalogue. It's not a bad school report for them, given the environment we're in, is it?
Given the environment, I think Charlie McConalogue's a little unfortunate. I'm from Wexford, down the far end of the country, but he would have toured the march. People wouldn't have known him that well in the southeast, but especially since he became minister, we've spent a lot of our time in lockdown. But he toured the marts to present the CAP proposals, debated the issues with farmers, and I think there was a level of respect for him. And I think that the minister's rating, in part, is held back by the rating that we're seeing for his party. That Fianna Fáil just can't gain traction. They're stuck in the mid-20s. They can't regain the level of support they had in the past. You're right that there's absolutely no doubt that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have a higher level of support in the farming population than they do in the overall population, but it's at a historic low. The combined support that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have at the moment is a little over 60%, and that's historically low.
How did the Greens get on, if you dare to ask?
Negligible. Yeah, okay. They barely feature at sort of between 0 and 1% consistently across polls. The Labour Party have seen an increase in support, but again off a low base. So. And that comes down to candidates often. You get regional disparities, but you'll get disparities within individual constituencies. So if you take Sean Sherlock in Cork East, he's a very popular candidate, agriculture spokesman for the Labour Party. Even though he's urban based, he has a good support, I think, across and a lot of respect in the farming population. So you pick up votes for the Labour Party in a constituency like that, whereas other rural constituencies where the Labour candidate or TD or senator is less wedded into rural issues in the rural community, the Labour vote will be negligible. In Ireland, I suppose, because our system of electoral politics, the personality is very important, and that's, I suppose, why the rural independents are doing so well, even though they have no party base behind them.
And say, for instance, in your analysis of it, although Sinn Féin are showing gains, are they traditionally not seen to have strong policies on farming, or farmers don't like their policies, or they're not vocal enough on them? I mean, do you have in the last 30 seconds an analysis of that, Pat?
I think that Sinn Féin, in terms of the policies they've gone for, they are more popular with smaller farmers and part-time farmers. They have been very strong advocates of the flattening of payments in CAP. They would have pushed for an absolutely flattening of CAP. So they have targeted a constituency. They have a coherent policy platform. They have a very presentable ag spokesperson and a very articulate ag spokesperson and an invested one in Matt Carthy. And I think that he has, before him, Martin Kenny similarly spoke very well on farming issues, and I think broadened the appeal of the party to the farmer base. But I think generally the reality is that Sinn Féin are maturing as an electoral party. And we're seeing the fruits of that in this poll.
Right, and those polls and an awful lot more are inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. Thanks, Pat.
You're very
Appreciate
welcome.
it. Pat O'Toole there, political correspondent with the Irish Farmers Journal. Thanks to all of you for listening, watching and taking part in the